You are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 75, Giant Size 75th episode, an interview with Erik Larsen.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, the show that... something. My name is Jim Purcell.
I'm Craig Olson.
And I'm Raven Perez.
And we are going to make this intro lean and mean because we are talking to the man, Erik Larsen, right now. All right, so we got us a special guest here on the Savage FINcast, someone you know, you love, why you come here, Erik Larsen. Joining us again.
Welcome.
Hey, thanks, guys.
This has probably been the longest stretch that we've gone in a while without talking. It's been about 8 months, 8 issues, so we've got a lot to get into.
Well, it's been a busy summer.
So
you pumped out about 20 of them.
You've been talking nonstop about me when I wasn't here, right?
We changed it up. We were talking about Spider-Man for 8 months.
Well, there you go.
There's a new Venom movie out, if you haven't heard.
Yeah. Pretty exciting stuff, that one. I didn't go. Come on. I can't leave the house.
Have you gone to see it at all? Or you have any interest in it?
No, I don't care. I have no love for Venom particularly. I like drawing him, but I'm not sitting here going, oh boy.
Right.
Cinematic universe, how'd that turn out?
Let's make a Venom movie with no Spider-Man.
There's going to be Venom, and he's not going to have Spider-Man, and he's just going to be going, man, it'd be great to have a major foe to fight, but I guess I don't have one.
He did your favorite thing. They gave him an evil twin to fight.
Oh, did they really?
Yes.
An evil twin of Venom?
Wow.
Another symbiote.
There's about 50 to pick from.
Wow. Well, so did they just use the Carnage dude, or is it like a totally different?
It was like toxic, right? Or wait,
It looked, honestly, like I haven't seen the movie, but like I saw a screenshot of the evil twin, and it just looks like another Venom.
Yeah. I heard that Carnage comes at the very end.
Yeah, I'm sure he got teased at the end.
Spoilers.
You don't know if you got a like a credit or anything in the movie, did you?
I have no idea.
You don't care.
No.
Just a credit says "Tongue" by Erik
I'm sure
Larsen.
you're getting like bombarded though by like Venom requests at like New York Comic Con. I know I saw a lot and stuff like that.
That's always been the case though. Movie. It's like, oh, you do a sweet Venom. All right, well, here you go.
Well, the Venom tongue kind of stood the test of time, and it's kind of the major feature of the character now.
Yeah, that is kind of hilarious how that worked out. Because like, I thought Todd gave him that. I didn't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because Todd had done like a cover on a trade paperback that was like Venom Returns. And I saw it, and his mouth was open, and he had a tongue, and I was like, "Oh, Todd's giving him a tongue now." But I didn't buy it because I was like, "I've got all those issues. No point in me buying this." But Todd's giving a tongue. I'm going to give him an even bigger, crazier tongue. And I've been kind of crediting him with giving him the tongue all this time. And then recently, I saw it. And it was like, no, he just had his mouth open. You could just see a little red dot there. And it was like super small. It wasn't big at all. I'm like, oh, in my brain, I had concocted this fiction that is not real. I've done that before where I see something and it's like, oh, I didn't buy it. It's like there was this issue of the Hulk that I saw on the stands when I was a kid, and I didn't buy it because I had no money. I was just like zero money at all, and there was no way I could just rip it off without anybody catching me. So it's like screwed. And and I was like, oh, he's fighting a mountain on that cover. That's the coolest thing. Oh, he's fighting a mountain. And then later, I was like, no, he's standing on the bridge of a pirate ship. What happened here? Where'd the mountain go? I was all excited about the mountain. It's like, no, it's just colored brown, you idiot. Okay.
Oh, man.
My bedroom now.
Major downgrade.
I'm an idiot.
All right, well, let's get on beyond Venom, because this is not the Savage Venom cast.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Moving on.
It is cool, though. But one thing I like to kind of do when we have you on is just real quick go through what's gone on in Savage Dragon and compare that. And like I always say, 6 months or 8 months in Savage Dragon, it seems like, the same amount of changes happen in 6 or 8 years in Marvel Comics. But since we last talked to you, I think 6 supporting characters were killed, 5 heroes and a villain. 2 of them came back to life, maybe 3, we don't know. Had at least 1 birth.
Oh, that's right. A full-on Canadian citizen now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
3 new villains were introduced, and the Dragon Kids had their first solo adventure. So there's a crap ton of stuff to go through here, but it's just always amazing how much goes on in this book.
It's funny. Like, oh yeah, stuff happens. What's going on with all these other books? I don't get why other comics just don't have stuff happening. That doesn't make any sense to me. You're doing a comic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want each issue to be able to. I mean, people are buying these as individual comics. They still make individual self. You buy them as that unit. How come there's nothing in that unit? How come you just buy a monthly comic and you're like, nothing happened this issue? What the hell? They tried to pick a babysitter? What the hell? That's not cool.
I mean, how many times can Batman fight the Joker before, someone else comes and takes his place at some point? How many ways can someone get out of something?
Answer quite a few. It turns out you had no idea. So yeah, bunch of stuff happened in the book. I'm not sure who's alive or dead, and I have to ask Alan about that.
I have a question right off the bat. Did you plan to make Michael Dragon so disposable, or?
Yeah, let me tell you about that one. That was another how do I deal with this? Originally, I had these grandiose plans that Malcolm was going to be going into Dimension X,
right,
and helping Alex look for Dad.
Well, that is what the cover suggested.
That was my big plan, and so I had sent this plot off and had it drawn, and it was like, all right, this is going to be cool. And then, as it turns out, the idea of Malcolm abandoning his wife and children in a foreign country just didn't seem like the thing to do. I don't know. and so I was kind of like, well, how can I do this? Because I've sent off this script to Ben Bishop, who drew it, and it's there and it's ready to go, and he's drawn the thing, but there's just no way I can have that all that stuff happen for this story to work. It's just it's impossible for this to be able to work. So all that stuff in Dimension X was to accommodate this Ben's backup.
Amazing.
So it's like, I need to invent another guy, because it's like, oh, he didn't draw him exactly on model. He's not, I'm looking at that last panel going, I don't know, his nose is a little different shape. So it's like, I think I can get away with him being another dude.
So you're saying that the backup in 233, that was supposed to be
an entirely different character. And
wow.
Well, if if there's another dragon, then somehow there has to be a way for that other dragon to exist. So then that was like, okay, I'll put Rapture back in there, because that would have made sense that she would be alive in this world, because she would have had this son on this world and name him Michael and blah, blah, blah. So it's this whole kind of string of stuff just to be able to make it so that Ben's backup made sense. And the thing is, it worked beautifully.
It did.
Yeah.
All these pieces kind of came together, and I ended up going, well, this was a lot more interesting than it would have been had I not been given this weird challenge to try and make sense of this backup.
Yeah.
But it's still madness.
Right. I thought the whole time that you gave like Malcolm like the beard and mustache so you could kind of differentiate between him and Michael. And I guess that
was kind of it, because it's like at that time it was like, okay, well now I've got to do something to Malcolm to make it so that he doesn't look like the guy who's in the backup. Like, holy crap, man.
So like with like 232 with the Wraith covering his face, was that done because you hadn't decided what to like if you were going to give him the beard or not, or was that just that strategic or just a coincidence?
That was just a happenstance.
Okay.
And then with 231, originally solicited, he didn't have a beard, and so just as that issue was going out, I put a beard on him for the published cover. Yeah, it's no way to do anything, basically, but oh well.
I remember reading that and being like, oh my god, another alternate like dragon guy, like holy crap.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, what's this gonna mean, and what's next, and then what happens after that, and how does all this make any goddamn sense, and blah blah blah. Yeah.
And I think it could still have long kind of term implications because he's not. It sounds like, and obviously you're not going to tell us, but it sounded like he knocked up Jennifer Murphy, or at least had sex with her in Dimension X. And I don't know, the way I look at it, I see that little hand come up out of the grave site, and it's
there's nothing to give it scale. So that could be Jennifer just going, "Hey dudes, where'd everybody go?" Or it could be some little like something.
I mean, we've seen these dragon babies survive.
Yeah, they've survived. So it's like, all right, it's more madness.
We'll find out in issue 375.
Michael gave us a very glorious death, though. I mean, his death was fucking great. He got butchered. Yeah. That was some good shit. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, too, because with Ben's backup, I'm like, all right, they're going to go on this little riff now. I bet you there's going to be like 2 or 3 different backups where they go to Elseworlds and try to find Dragon. It was like, nope, next issue, just
pieces
sliced like bread.
It's like, all right, enough of that. Because also I am kind of keenly aware that every month is a month. Right. And so it's like, well, if they went and they could have had 9 adventures over there over the course of, a couple of weeks, and then somebody could be doing stories of those. I guess I could. Yeah. But it's just it's crazy. It's a crazy way of doing comics. I admit it. It makes no damn sense, but whatever.
We were really shocked though with 234. It was like so much happened in that issue with the deaths, and like I know like on the FINcast, especially like I know I was saying like how I've enjoyed the Jennifer Murphy character. It seemed like she was kind of turning a page, and in the Savage world was really kind of finding herself and becoming more of like the hero instead of the damsel in distress. Even though she's such a strong character, it always seemed like she was being protected by like Dragon or whoever. And then it seemed like she was taking more of a lead, and it was like, all right, she's turning a page, and all of a sudden,
she doesn't suck. See, guys? And then it was like, oh, now she's dead, and you liked her. Suck on it, bitches.
And I did. I had to. I was like, oh, I miss her now.
Well, it's also this weird thing of just going, okay, I've brought her back but Dragon's not here. What's her role?
Yeah.
What do I do with her? And almost every time that I've brought a character back from the dead in some form, I'm almost always just sitting there going, all right, what the hell? Why did I do that? Because I kind of mentally let go of things when I kill them off, and then it becomes, all right, this character's just taking up space now. I got other people to kill off.
That's what makes me real nervous about the end of 239.
I know, dude.
Oh my god.
Taking up space.
Taking up space,
people. Where are we going here? Yeah. It's. I'm not gonna lie. There's madness that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird though. I mean, it was like Angel was only a few years apart from her mom in age now with the suspended animation type thing, so it did seem almost like redundant in a way.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, they both kind of run around wearing very similar costumes and all that, and then it's like she's kind of I don't know. You know, it's like. It's sort of back to the Alex, Jennifer, Dragon triangle thing all over again and so it's like, I don't know. You know, we're going to suddenly be pulling in Jennifer again into this mire, and then she's going to be hanging out with her mom, which is kind of weird because her mom's just a few years older than she is, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, it is comics, and that sort of thing does go on here.
Yeah. No, it was just a great issue too, and just the whole it was kind of like the X's of Dragon too, you know, with Rapture, Alex, and Jennifer. It was just kind of neat. Like I didn't think we'd ever see that coming again, and it's pretty wild.
I do have to ask, why make Alex so anti-millennial? She just seems to have gotten a bit crabby in her old age about the kids today.
Oh.
She's bitter.
Because she's not a kid. Everybody goes through that where they're just like suddenly they're not young and hip anymore, and they're just like, oh shit,
fuck these kids.
I was this way, and now things are this way.
Your generation and your cell phones and whatnot.
Yeah, I remember. We used to have to do this, and now you don't have to do that anymore. You kids are spoiled. What? We used to have to use our brain. We'd hear a song on the radio, and we'd have to go, God, who is that? I think it's Nash and Young. No, I don't think Neil Young was part of the band yet.
It was just an interesting turn for the character. I wouldn't have expected, but it's an interesting touch.
You didn't expect her to get codgerly.
Yeah, no, I would expect her to stay hip forever, honestly.
Well, I can't have everybody stay at some point, you know. At some point, it's just I gotta have some characters get old and show that they're getting old. And there's just, you know, you can do that as a writing thing, or you can do that as a drawing thing, and it can be tough to ease into some of that stuff as a drawing thing, even. It's like, how much different am I drawing a 25-year-old compared to a 23-year-old? It's like,
right.
You know, how different is that visual? You know, it's like Maxine just turned 24. Okay, how are you drawing her visually different than? Well, now she doesn't have hair and she's wearing braces.
Somehow got smaller.
She's getting younger.
Right. She looks younger than ever because she's got braces on. It's like, okay, well, that's a little weird.
I thought Old Face Rapture was really good. That was
yeah.
Yeah, those are city miles.
You really hagged her out. That was good.
Yeah, and it's like we'll get there eventually with all these characters, right?
If they
you'll probably kill them off first.
Yeah, they die pretty before they get white hair most of the time.
Yeah, well, I need to do more white hair and more male pattern baldness and all that kind of fun stuff.
So, the Savage Little Dragons, what really spurred you to kind of do those double-page spreads as, like, Sunday comic strips?
I just wanted to do something that visually looked a little different from things I'd done before, and it was kind of just a lot of times the ideas just come from sitting there looking at something, or something attracts your attention, and it's like, oh, let me try it this way, let me try that. Initially, I was thinking I was going to do it in the style of Dennis the Menace.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there are a couple of those Dennis the Menace books that just come out that collected some of the old Dennis the Menace comics, and I was like, I'll just do it like Dennis the Menace. And then I was like, you know what? 2 people are going to get that.
I get it.
It's just too. It's too kind of weird and too obscure, and I don't
know if Dennis the Menace is that obscure. I mean, he was in most newspapers.
But are you talking about the art style or layouts?
Like the comics are really obscure.
Yeah.
You know? So It's like, because he had his own comic book, and it was drawn by a couple of people who weren't Hank Ketchum.
Okay.
And they were pretty cool.
So based on the comic book, not the comic
Yeah,
strip?
it would have been like the comic books.
I guess I wouldn't have gotten that.
And it would be like, oh, okay. Which, I mean, they were aping Hank Ketchum, but it's not the same. You know, the pages would look a little different.
I thought you meant like one panel image with text.
Oh, no, like that. But it would have been definitely. I wanted something that was going to be a contrast, so that you'd go,
yeah,
I'm on this page, now I'm on a different page, and I was either going to do it as 2 stories in the issue, and there would be 2 completely separate things, or I was going to do it where I'm flipping back and forth from one to another, and I opted for the latter there.
I like the flipping back and forth because it still feels like 2 different stories, but they are congruent. So,
and you catch the Bill Crabtree stuff right away, even with just the panel work, and especially Farron's Savage Little Dragon.
Watterson, Craig.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Bill Crabtree would be very pleased to hear.
Yeah,
that.
Sorry. I don't know why it popped into my brain, but
it helps that that Farron did a bang up job capturing Bill Watterson's lettering, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, let me put a title on these strips, and then I had all my Calvin and Hobbes books out, so I could just be like, all right, how's he draw this and how's he draw that? I was looking at it, and I'm not completely nailing his style in that regard, because it's like my abilities only go so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran up against some weird little speed bumps where I was sitting there going, well, how does he draw black guys? Never seen him draw. I got a black kid.
Yeah, I remember when he asked about that. Yeah,
how does he draw? And I was like, oh, he doesn't. He just never has anybody. It's just a strip about Caucasians, and it's like, okay. I mean, that's one way of sidestepping any critique of the way you draw black kids. Is just don't do it.
Calvin's world is really small, at least in terms of like people he knows. I mean, he's only got a cast of like 6 people.
Even like, you know, when you have fantasy sequences of him as a dinosaur, and there's a million people fleeing, and there's not one black guy in any of that. There's no, there's no Asians. It's like, whoa, damn, man, they never go to it. Weird.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And I'm not trying to say, hey, you're terrible or whatever. I think with a lot of people, it just doesn't even cross their mind.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember how triggered people got by that. That you even pointed it out. A lot of people were like, oh, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say, oh my God, he's this terrible racist dude. I was just like, it's just interesting that
it didn't happen.
He made that choice. And I think that could be a choice of, well, I don't want to be criticized for that. Like, you can draw caricatures of Donald Trump looking like whatever, but you got to be really careful about caricatures about Obama, or you're going to catch holy hell for it. And that's just the reality of those kind of race things.
Yeah.
And if you're doing caricatures of little black kids, that's a different thing than doing caricatures of little white kids.
Could be that he just didn't even put much thought into it. Who knows?
I think it's that. And he, as a colorist, he could have just decided, I'm just going to make one of these little white kids into a little black kid when I'm coloring it. But he didn't even do that. So, whatever.
It was a great issue, though.
Anyway, some challenges there.
I mean, that cover, I know for the longest time we thought it was Maddie's hand, and, to find out what it really was is just kind of cool. It was a nice little, like, kind of one-and-done type story that fit perfect.
You think we'll see this fantasy world crop up again, or you think?
I'm sure you will. I'm sure we will.
Oh, nice. I kind of hope it like grows up with the kids. It just kind of becomes their kind of a thing that they do.
Well, I think it's like we've now have these guys who came in and rescued the princess. So, damn it, if we need some guys to do something, we know where to go.
Right.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, I think that would be cool for them, because at this point they're so young,
right? And
they while they can talk to each other about stuff, their memory of that place has got to be already, half gone. And
you see crazy people every day. I mean,
did that happen? Did that not happen?
Was it a dream?
It's kind of like in some aspects, the real time kind of bites you in the ass, where you've got to, if you want to do more of these kid adventures, you've got to do it. You've got a finite window.
Yeah, and it's and all this stuff like, oh, this kid has a cute little speech impediment. It's like, well, how long does that going to last?
Right.
Realistically, kids mispronounce something for a month, and then they've picked up on how to fix that, and they're on to the next cute little thing that they're doing. But it's like, but I want Amy to sound like that, or I like the way that is, and that's just not going to stay that way for very long, because it can't.
That'd be a funny choice to make, though. I actually interact with a few adults that have speech impediments now. like one's a lawyer, and he's like, I would like free copies of this, please. And I'm like, what? Like, or you're a lawyer with a speech impediment. I'm just saying, technically, I guess you could keep her having a speech impediment forever.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
It'd be weird.
Sometimes I have fun just saying words wrong. It's a pastime.
Yeah.
I just say people's names wrong. That's my job.
There you go.
Crabtree.
Yeah. Wah, wah.
Often mispronounced Watterson as Crabtree.
Yep. I got the first name right. Gosh darn it.
Scourge. It's all about Scourge.
All about Scourge.
It's all about Scourge. What a great guy.
So you were clearly going to introduce this guy before the news of Steve Ditko's death, but you decided to homage him through the origin stuff?
A little bit, just in terms of, just the page layouts, and Steve would often do this thing where characters would kind of shift their weight on their hips and stuff.
Right.
So I was like, let me do a lot of that, where these characters are just kind of riding their butt around in a weird way as he's leaning on a desk. And it was very kind of a minor thing. I wasn't let's go full on Ditko, and there have been times before where I was gonna do some Ditko-esque story, and then I just didn't get to it. I kind of oops, forgot to do that. Because there was there was a story some time ago where Sam Hayes was being yelled at by his bosses, and he had taken a real hardline stance and where he is, and in that issue, I was gonna follow that up with the Ditko thing, because Ditko would frequently do that with Mr. A or the Question or something. Mm-hmm. He would have like, here's this guy, his principled guy, and now he's facing, some test of his principles. And damn it, he always comes through like
the man's trying to get him down.
And so I was like, oh, I should do one of those, and then I promptly forgot. Constantly setting shit up and then just going, oh, I guess he's a homeless dude now. Never mind.
Did you ever meet Ditko in person?
I did. I met him at New York in Kerry Kavanaugh's office. And it was just, it was a weird little awkward, oh, hey, hi, how's it going?
Were you in awe, or
it wasn't like, hey, let's talk about objectivism or whatever. It's just.
Were you drawing Spider-Man at the time?
I don't remember.
You guys worked on one story together, right?
Yeah, for Marvel Comics Presents, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, that Human Torch story, right?
Yeah, so I think this was before that. I don't think I had worked on his stuff yet. I'm not sure what it was I was working on, because I know I'd done stuff for Terry's office before, which is probably why I showed up. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that kind of went on at Marvel in various times, because it's like I got there and I was doing the Punisher, and then I had pitched a story for Marvel Comics Presents and I didn't want to work on the Punisher. And that story was accepted, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to go do Nova for Marvel Comics Presents. And then they came back and said, no, you can't do Nova because we're putting him in New Warriors, and your story doesn't jive with what Fabian wants to do. So, sorry, buddy, you quit that other book, and you're out of work. And then it came, oh, well, what do you got? Anything? And it's like, well, we need somebody to do an Excalibur serial. I'm like, I guess I'm doing that. I have no love for Excalibur, but I have love for paying my rent. So
yeah, right. You kind of hit that sweet spot where you got to work with some of the greats from like the 60s, which is kind of cool. Good. Like you worked with quite a few of those guys in at least like an issue or a story or something.
Yeah, just neat. Like, oh, I got to ink actual Jack Kirby pencils while Jack Kirby was alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. He'll just make more, right? No.
I mean, your first issue, that Thor issue, was Stan Lee and Vinny, right?
Yeah, I was just subbing for Jack in that classic lineup.
That's amazing.
And then I worked with Happy Herbie Trimpey on Dragon 200, and I had him do a cover before that. So I was like, oh, this is cool. All my faves.
I think the one guy that you kind of missed was, and you almost worked right with Gil Kane, right, with the Mighty Man.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
The closest we got is he did do a pinup of Dragon that was in one of the issues. So at least I got him to draw my dude.
Yeah, cool. Is there any guy that you wish you would have got to work with that has since passed, or someone that's still alive that you would have liked the chance to collaborate with, I guess?
Huh.
Someone from the old guard.
God, I don't know who's even left. Honestly, that I'm sitting there going, oh boy, I really want to work with him, because there's a bunch that I did get to work with in some capacities, even though it's small.
Right.
Like I worked with John Byrne on a Spider Woman or Spider.
That's right. Yeah.
So I worked with Walt Simonson. He inked a story in Savage Dragon.
Yep.
100. I worked with Sal Buscema and Klaus Janson on The Defenders,
which was awesome.
So it's like, oh, that was pretty neat to work with those two guys. And I'm just thinking, well, who the hell's even left who would be I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Influences, I don't know. It's like I work with Keith Giffen on Freak Force, and I work with a bunch of different people here and there. I drew an Alan Moore story.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's like, that's. I guess Frank Miller, though Frank Miller's.
He did a pinup for you, but you didn't
He did a pinup for me. We didn't really work together. So I guess that would be a Grail thing, but I don't know how that would be. I don't know how.
Right.
The last thing I read from him, I wasn't like, man, that was awesome. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's crazy how much time's passed too. Like, one thing that we were talking about a couple of episodes on the FINcast is we were marveling at the Blood Strike comic that came out by Michel Fife, and I felt like he kind of did a mock-up really well of how an early Image comic looked, in a couple of different phases. Like, he just copied the same inside cover, the ad, everything was like. And it reminded me of the 1963 comic where you guys, where Image is paying homage to Marvel. And I was like, you know what? The time difference between in 1993 paying homage to 63 and, today in 2018 paying homage to, 1992, 93. It's like, it's about almost the same, maybe 5 years off.
It's crazy to think about that. When I started reading Marvel Comics, it just felt like they had been around forever. It's like it started before I was born, so that helped. But it was like, I started reading like the Incredible Hulk, like with issue 156 or something, and so it's like, there's 156 of these. Oh my god, this has been around forever. And I didn't know that it was Tales to Astonish up to 101. And that it really hadn't been that long. But even the Fantastic Four was up there pretty far. Yeah. And it just seemed like these books have been around forever, and now Image is 26 years in. Right. And it's like, holy crap, 26 years in, what was the Fantastic Four like? And I'm at that point now where it's like, oh yeah, on these issue numbers, John Byrne was on the Fantastic Four, and it felt like John Byrne came on the Fantastic Four pretty far into the run.
Yeah, but not really when you think about it.
It just felt like it was an old book by then.
Byrne didn't take over after Kirby and Lee, right?
No. He's way after.
There was a whole bunch of different periods. There was like, Don Romita came on immediately.
Yeah, he was on for a while.
Then it was John Buscema was on for a while. And then it was Rich Buckler, but there were also fill-ins by Ramona Fraden and Ross Andrew, and then George Perez got on the book, and then John did a little run, and then Bill Sienkiewicz was on it for a while, and then it went from Sienkiewicz to Byrne doing the full art thing. So John came on. It was on issue 232, and it's like now I'm in my 230s at this point. Right. I'm closing out the 230s as we speak. I'm sitting here inking 240. Oh, good lord!
It's funny that like Image books are some of the only triple-digit comics out right now.
Yeah.
Well, they restored some numbering on some stuff recently, but yeah.
But even so, they took it away.
Yeah, exactly. You never took it away.
And also they take it away again. Like the Marvel's like, we're going back to legacy numberings. Psych! No, we're not.
Just long enough to get that anniversary money until we reboot it again.
Until we need a new number one.
So now we got a new number one. Let's go. Let's do this, kids. Yeah. Spider-Man 1. Who doesn't love Spider-Man 1?
It is crazy though, because you do see a lot of the artists now that are in their 30s, even 40s. That guys like you and McFarlane, those are the Kirby and Ditkos to these people, you know. They grew up on you guys, you know. It is really weird.
It's weird. So like, you know, I had somebody at a Marvel party just going, like it or not, you're one of the grand old men of comics now.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, you know, collecting your Spider-Man in the 90s and seeing Jack Kirby stuff and absolutely hating it. And like, I would never read that. That's not for me. Hate it. And, you know, times have changed. I absolutely love Kirby now. But, I mean, you get a lot of that. It's weird how styles and tastes change, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really into Bronze Age DC right now. Who'd ever have thought that?
Not me.
I wasn't into that when I was younger, or even when I was getting into comics in the 2000s.
Yeah, it's
nuts.
Raven's gonna get mad at me if I don't ask this. So
I super mad.
I have to ask you this question: Why does it seem like blood has become so important to the book lately? It just seems like ever since you introduced the concept of the Chosen One stuff being passed through a blood transfusion, albeit, you know, in a way that makes you explode. It's blood has just
blood
kind
is
of
magic, man. It's the magic elixir.
Yeah, because you introduced the immortality stuff with the little wise guys that could be passed around by blood transfusion, and now you've introduced most recently, of course, both Maxine and Angel have been injured to the point where a double dose of Chosen One blood and Freak Out has quote-unquote solved the problem.
Yeah. How long can you pull that one off?
Yeah, it just seems like in the last, you know, little while, it's just this kind of blood stuff has become more and more important. Is that just something that's just come up, or just you've got a plan?
It's something. It'll run its course, and then I'll be like, all right, time to move on to the next thing and get on to that. But at least a lot of times I just kind of set myself up with these weird little challenges, and then it's like, oh crap, now I'm stuck with this thing. How am I going to do this? And then how do I get out of that? Right. So, you know, and then there's always like, well, I can do this with it. I can do this with it. I got this story I could tell. So we'll see. We'll see how long I can keep these balls like this before it all comes crashing down.
I guess it just sort of became more like interesting to me when we kind of discovered that when Angel gave Daredevil a blood transfusion, he got a little bit of a boost, strength-wise. It sort of suggests that superhuman freaks in general can like pass their powers around through blood transfusions.
There's a little bit of that. We actually touched on that when we were doing the Savage Dragon cartoon, of all things.
Oh, really?
Years ago, yeah. Barbaric had his powers taken away, and he was turned back into a normal person. And so we got to see even that he was a Native American.
Right.
And then some, you know, he needed him for some stupid reason, and then suddenly it's like, all right, I guess I'm doing this again, like every comic book character ever. Took my powers away. Oh, I know, I need them. It's like, dude, come on. It's not like you weren't fighting bad guys before. What made you think they would stop existing? Get it together, mister. I don't know. I don't really have an end game necessarily for a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
A lot of it is just me painting myself into a corner and then getting out of it. You know,
Gotcha.
That seems to be what I do.
The process.
Yeah.
It needs to work though.
Yeah, I think it does. It does make for some kind of exciting comics because you just end up with all sorts of wacky shit. And
right.
it's also how all of us live our lives, you know? We all kind of roll the dice and then have to make the best of the situation. Well, I'm going to go walk up to her. God damn it. I'm sitting here at this bar. She's down at the other end. She's not here with any friends. I'm just going to go talk to her. But you won't either. You're not going to do it. I'm totally doing it. Look, I'm walking out, you know? And it's like sometimes that works out. Sometimes you get a drink in your face.
I think it works. It works really well for Dragon though, because if you don't know where it's going, the reader doesn't either, and it kind of makes the book all that more exciting, you know.
Yeah,
unpredictability.
And every goddamn issue, I'm sitting there going, I could lose that guy. What would this book be like if I lost that guy? I have to do this and this. It's like, I could kill every one of those kids. Maxine's young. She could make new ones. What the hell? Like, what am I thinking? That's no way to live your life.
So we should probably talk just a little bit about the latest issue, 239.
All right.
Jim, before you do
Canadian Force.
Yes,
Jim,
Raven.
before you do that, I'm not going to let you chicken out. There was another part to that question you wanted to ask, mister.
Wait, which part?
The braces.
Oh, that doesn't matter. Eric, the braces thing just sort of...
Raven stirring the shit pot.
I was stirring the pot.
It was one of those things that just didn't make a ton of sense to me, because I think the way you explained it was the freak out is what caused her teeth to become crooked again.
Well, when she's changed back, the freak out, she just becomes. Yeah, there's no fucking reason to make
right. Because I initially thought that when she became
turns you back to the way you should have been, kind of thing. So if you're, if you're, I would assume that you were all healed up because the dragon blood changes you back and heals you up.
Right. So
it's like, well, if you change back, why wouldn't your teeth go back to the way they were meant to be?
Right.
Any more than if you grew back an appendix and you had your appendix removed.
Right.
That
was my assumption, is that the Chosen One healing factor is what made her teeth crooked, because that was how your natural her teeth are supposed to grow naturally, so it uncorrected her teeth. But I guess, I don't know. And it just seemed like it was suggested that the freak out caused it instead, because I guess
no, it wasn't the freak out. It was really the
healing.
The healing thing.
That's what made sense to me. Okay, so I was right.
Yeah,
so it wasn't the freak out?
Because the Chosen Blood.
The Chosen Blood just makes everything heal. Right. So it's like, all right, so if you've had your appendix out, your appendix is going to be back. If you had a broken leg there, it grew back. So when you change from being healed, you're going to change back to the way you should have been. Well, you're changing back now to the way you should have been, but you had done all this dental work, so now your teeth are turning back to your fucked up teeth. That's no good.
Okay, I didn't know it.
That was always my initial assumption, and then somebody put into my head, no, the freak out caused it, and then we were trying to go through hoops trying to figure out how that could be.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Freak out's not just wrecking teeth on people. Freak out's, but it is kind of turning. It is, whatever. Freak out just takes away
takes unnatural superpowers away. Yeah.
Yeah. Unnatural superpowers. Yeah, so that gets weird things too.
Yeah, because it doesn't work on gods, and it only does like half the job on like a Chosen One, because part of it's natural and part of it's not.
Yeah, that doesn't make any goddamn sense either. But we just roll with it. Well, I think a lot of this stuff you go with, okay, well, it's some drug. It's not a magical thing. So,
well, we were talking
some drugs affect things this way. As long as I keep the rules relatively consistent, it's like, all right, next he's not going to turn into a giraffe next time or something weird. We've established these are the rules, so okay, what's going to happen now?
Unless you mix it with Pop Rocks.
And then all hell breaks loose.
Last episode when we were talking with Scott James, we were talking about when Angel got injected with the Chosen One blood and she had an arm missing. And we were trying to figure out, why did her arm grow so fast when it takes like months for Malcolm to grow his legs back?
Yeah, there's no good reason.
Because comics.
Because shock to the system.
Yeah, I think shock to the system. If Malcolm was being suddenly injected with more of his own blood, maybe that would
speed it up.
Speed up that process. Yeah. You know,
Nice.
like, okay, he's still got the same amount of blood, the same whatever. I mean, in theory, he should just be giving blood all the goddamn time. And then when anything goes wrong, he should just be like, right in the tongue, here we go.
Someone give Eric a no prize for that explanation.
That wins. That's good. I'm down with it.
Yes.
All right, Raven, you satisfied?
I'm satisfied. I had to stir that shit a little bit.
Why couldn't Raven ask these questions?
Well, because
It was Jim's questions.
It was Jim's questions. We just had to get him to build up his nerve.
Okay.
See, I'm very much of the. It's comics. Like, I don't think too hard about anything.
There should be some internal logic of some sort that works out.
That's what I searched for.
Did we? You never addressed why Malcolm could have girls, right? Because wasn't it established like the chosen one was boys? Is that something?
Yeah, they're all boys. I figure that the human half part of him
screws it up.
Going, well, I'm in here too. So
Gotcha.
It's like, oh, the next generation doesn't have two toes anymore. Eventually, you're going to be like, oh, now they've got a littler fin, and now they've got, eventually.
And fin.
Now we may eventually get to a point where it's like, oh, now we got one that's got a really weird little fin. Let's name that one Paul. and then I can eventually work in those graphic fantasy stories yet again. It's like, no, now he really is Paul.
Paul just loves that utility belt.
See, guys, he really does think these things out sometimes. So, not all fly by night. Although the Power Glove is still kind of around,
still out there.
200 issues later,
it's not really clear as if they tossed it in the flying car when they came back or not.
They have to. That thing's got to stay around. Like I want to see that in the very last issue.
There's no reason you wouldn't take it with you.
It's all nasty and
really seen in panel. Like, no, she's definitely got it. It's right there.
It probably smells really bad and just grimy, and at some point it's gonna miss a finger.
Look how many ugly bastards it's smashed into. Like the stench is probably unbearable.
How many gross hands have been in that thing? We'll see that, a flying car, a Martian shrinking ray, and Vanguard's teleporter all at some point.
It's all there.
I was happy to see the flying car.
Yeah. Who gets the flying car when all said and done here? It's
like an old friend.
Is that being parked up?
Good old Power Glove.
Yeah. There's some cool shit out there.
Yeah, it totally is.
I just want to say I'm just super down for like all of the sex doll action in these issues here. These like 238, 230. This is great because like in preparation for this, like I flipped back to 231, and I was like, you know what, sex dolls, I've appreciated your presence. It's all been good.
Norm Spiegelman.
Yeah.
Is he like the world's biggest idiot, or is the exploding part not public knowledge?
Word didn't reach him about the exploding part. He just got hey, it makes everything better, and then it's like, whoa, it totally does. I don't know why he wouldn't have freaked out about just becoming green. It's like, wait a minute, I just saw Angel on TV. She wasn't green. What the hell?
Oh, yeah.
We don't even know what his motives are yet. Maybe he's okay with exploding.
He's just jealous.
He's got all this. He does go on a bit of a ramble. Oh my God! When I was hurt, laid off, I exploited a backdoor that I had installed to take control of the sex dolls and took revenge on those who harmed me. So it's like, oh, okay, so he was stealing shit from.
Whoever created those those sex dolls, though. Like, we're gonna have dolls for sex, which is a great idea, but let's make them fly and super strong. It's like, hey, we don't need all that. That's okay.
Canada is a
super
utopia.
Strong things seems a bit like, wow, that's gonna make them durable because they're gonna be banging fat dudes. Come on.
Have you levitating off the bed?
They're specifically designed for the superhuman market.
Yeah,
there you go.
We gotta. They're expensive. Those things aren't just pennies a serving. That's I don't think of them as flying. I think of them as kind of Hulk jumping around.
Oh, okay.
I think we got the idea they could fly from that cover appearance because it looks like she's flying into his face. But yeah, I think they mostly climbed and jumped.
She's kind of jumping off another really tall building, which is not seen, and also covers are not canon. We all know that. Right. Malcolm wasn't wearing that shirt.
I'm loving that Scourge is back so soon. I'm hoping he sticks around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be on a cover here again pretty soon because, he's kind of making him into a badass. It's like we never get to see the early parts of a lot of the villains that I've done in the book. They're already like, well, this guy's already a mob boss.
Yeah.
Cool, but how did he get to be a mob boss? So this is kind of doing the Overlord story sort of right, starting earlier and getting to build up that kind of a character.
Is it weird that when I was reading it, I read the mob boss's voice in 1920s Chicago speak? Yeah. Wow, we're fighting back, see?
Well, that was another Ditko thing. Initially, I was there was an early Spider-Man where Green Goblin comes in and deals with some mob boss and is like, I'm taking over this kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I should totally homage that. And I looked at it and was like, oh, these are totally dopey poses. This would not fly. So I just had to beat up a mob boss. This would not work at all. He's sitting there hovering 2 inches on his little flying board and all that stuff. It's like, this is bullshit.
Now, you don't have to answer this if it's giving away something and you don't want to give away yet. But is Scourge? Is he in a suit or is he mutated or what's his? I know he's shooting lasers and it sounds like he's at least partly in a suit because Malcolm crushed something last time.
Yeah, it's a suit, okay. But it's I think he's got kind of a combination of stuff going on there where he's like, I'm going to mutate myself to some extent, but I'm going to wear this augmented suit. And then I've got all this other kind of, it's like he's doubling up on
that makes sense.
Thing he can do. So
it's like, why don't you see that more? Because you see the guys that are just super strong. It's like, well, why don't add some gadgets on there? You could be strong and have lasers.
Yeah, I want to be able to fire shit out of my hands. Let's do this. Come on, let's make it happen.
So one thing I really kind of enjoyed in this issue is that, for the most part, Malcolm seems like a guy whose stuff kind of just rolls off of him. But it does seem like this tabloid stuff is actually really bothering him more than he expected.
Yeah. That page, those 2 pages were super fun to write. Where he's just being brought the tabloid, and it's just like, oh Jesus, one more thing. What am I?
That was good. You can you just see him snap. Kind of. It's like, whoa. I thought that was really great.
Yeah, it's just like, good Lord. And what's that like? What's your life like? And I kind of want to do a little more issues where it's just not so much, let's fight some huge battle this issue, but more, what's it like to be that? Because you can't leave your apartment without people going, oh, look who it is. It's the most famous guy I've ever seen in my entire life. Hide himself in any way. He can't put on a pair of glasses. He can't put on a hoodie. He can't disguise the fact that his
can't even wear a hat.
There's nothing he can do that he can do to disguise himself except look like some even bigger freak. You know? It's like, how is that as an existence? You know, especially if you're not like, I'm super, super wealthy and I can do whatever the hell I want. Like, okay, you're not super, super wealthy. You're still living in an apartment and you've got bills and you've got other bullshit to deal with. Okay, now what? How are you going to deal with it?
Well, you brought that up on Facebook, though. You said, you know, I often wonder if I ditch superheroics completely in Savage Dragon, would readers still show up for the dance? So is that something you're seriously thinking about? Is maybe like, you know, doing like an arc?
It's too much fun to draw the superhero stuff.
That's what I figured, but
so
you're saying maybe an issue here or there.
The constant war of writer versus artist. Like, most fun stuff to draw is people just kicking the shit out of
it out,
page after page.
Yeah.
But as a writer, those pages they're just kind of boring to write in a way, because you can't. I mean, you can get a little bit of snappy patter in there, but you can't get a lot of good in-depth character building back and forth with various characters in the midst of fistfights, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be nice to be able to get a little more of this. How can I possibly do that? And what ends up happening is you end up going, well, I guess this fight's going to be over in 2 panels. Bam! And then, well, geez, man, you put him on the cover. How come you didn't do anything cool about it?
Yeah, figure after 239 issues, it's hard, like, every issue to find a reason for someone to fight. You know, like, I guess maybe not, but when I think about it, I'm like, wow, like, you've got to come up with some reason to have like a 2-page or 3-page slugfest every issue.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, how many fistfights have you gotten into in your own life? Relatively few, if you're like most of us.
Right.
You know, it's like, you could probably, I mean, I could maybe do 6 months worth of Savage Erik Larsen comics. With all of my battles. You know, some of them are pretty short, but you know, it's like, that's not going to be much of a comic, you know, if you're just going by my fist fights.
Still going to want to read that, though. If you ever want to scratch that itch, you go crazy.
The Erik Larsen, the autobiography.
The autobio comic.
And look, there he is. Crazy shit.
Dude, I love Harry Paratestes and the gag of his, like, you know you same do. Face.
Botoxed face.
I love Harry Paratestes. What?
Yeah. That's such... The original art on these looks so funky.
Because the photo stat, like...
Because he has no head. There's just no... It just goes to nothing. And I'm, like, drawing a ball or something that's on there, and it's like... I mean, I'm not going to sit there and painstakingly redraw that same head over and over. It's all done in Photoshop. Is just moving that little head around and resizing it, popping it there.
Next Comic-Con, if you sell me that page for a cheap price, I will pay for commission for you to fill in the heads.
Yeah, good Lord.
Speaking of, we never did talk about the New York Comic-Con and the theft of that cover.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
man, that's got to be the worst. Just
it's super weird. And the other part of it is, how much do I give a shit? Because I've got literally hundreds more of these covers.
239 of them.
Well, so for the listeners, you were just recently at Comic-Con.
So recently I was at a Comic-Con. I had brought along that issue, whatever issue that
88.
It was split up because the story featured a couple of pages that were in another issue. So it was like, well, this issue can never be complete. So I'm just going to break this issue up and sell the individual pages to whoever wants to have an individual page. Just like totally acceptable behavior. But, you know, so I have one cover that I can sell, and it's the only cover that I had, and I brought it along, and I'm sitting here with it on this pile. Generally, it's been on the top the entire convention. And so towards the end of the day on Sunday, a guy comes up and wants me to do a commission for him. I draw him a commission. He had already paid for it. He came by, super excited to pick up the commission, and he says, "Oh, and I got a page earlier. I got a page I'd like you to sign." I think he said I picked up earlier or something. I don't know how he couched it, but my brain immediately goes, "Oh, he must have like some page that Sal Buscema inked, that Sal signed it, and he wants me to sign it." So I'm thinking it's either going to be Defenders or World's Greatest Comic Magazine or some other book that I work
non-dragon book, yeah.
It's like going to be non-dragon. And so when he pulls out this cover, I'm like,
what?
That's not by this. And then he got totally like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this to me." And then he was like, he kind of whisked it away and went like hurriedly walking off, calling somebody's name, like, hey, Bill, Bub, like as though it was some friend, and he was gonna figure out what the hell went on. So I'm thinking, oh, he's just going to solve this, whatever thing is, find out, and then that was the last I saw of him.
It's just so strange that he would pay for a commission, and it feels like there's a piece of the story missing. Either he's the greatest mastermind of all time or the biggest idiot.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I'm sitting there going, well, did somebody else rip this thing off and immediately flip it? And so he's just this guy who's now got this thing that, and it's like, oh, my brain's trying to.
Yeah, you would think that he would say something like that, though. Like, this guy just sold this to me. This can't be right. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing seemed really weird.
And that's heartbreaking, though. That's really annoying.
I do. It sucks that goes on.
Yeah.
My biggest fear, of course, is that you'll never see it again. It'll be destroyed just so that it doesn't he doesn't get caught with it.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility.
It's just especially a bummer that it's a cover too.
Yeah, I mean,
and one of the really cool ones too.
The thing was that any page would have done this. That he could have taken from that pile would have gotten the same kind of reaction, though.
Right? Because you don't sell your art. It's like, and that's not something I don't think. I think a lot of people don't understand is that you don't sell all your art.
No, I don't. And also, it's super common for artists to not sign art until they sell it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like there's a pile of art there. None of it is signed. So if you're suddenly going, "Can I sign this art?" It's like, well, you didn't buy it if it's not signed.
Right.
So what the hell?
So are you going to change the way you do things now? Is this kind of more art on the table?
It could very well be that it'll be I don't bring original art from comics to conventions at all. It'll just be like,
and that's sad, because going through original art at cons is like one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, those things are thousands of dollars each.
Unless I'm sitting there going, I got to bring somebody who's going to be keeping his eye on shit constantly, which is, do I need to fly in some other dude who's just doing that? And I don't actually sell that much original art at conventions anyway.
Right.
People mostly are all about having me do commissions. Because if you're looking through the art, it's like, well, yeah, it's cool that you brought this Spawn page, but I'm not that into Spawn. And if I'm going to get, I'll have you draw me a new dragon, because the new dragon, it's going to have dragon prominently on it, whereas on this original art, there's pages that have got Alex on it, or it's pages that have got this character or that character, not necessarily the key character you want in some cool pose.
Right.
Because I'm trying to tell a story for her.
Yeah. Do you want a full page spread of Dragon, like a commission, or because it's probably going to be cheaper than an original page? And
no, well, it's an original page where he's in a badass position.
Right. Exactly.
Like
a full page spread in a real page.
But they're also more refined. They're going to be better than
absolutely.
Commission is going to be. So it's like, well, it's technically it's better. It's a better drawing than these commissions, because commissions are just by nature for me, they're relatively fast. They're relatively rough.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I can get a better thing, and it's what to do. I don't
Plus,
know.
a lot of those older issues have the cool lettering on it, which is
I mean, all the stuff that I'm bringing that's got lettering on it. If it's from Dragon, or it's from Spawn. In its case, it's like, well, you're not really known for Spawn, so
yeah,
it's cool that you got it, but.
I got an original page of the Savage Dragon Superman Chicago, like I want to say 12 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And you were at New York and Chris was there too, and you guys both signed it. But I never realized how much went into lettering until I saw like an original page lettered. And this one's got like Howard Neisman shooting his gun, and it's like got the blam, 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 blam. It's like, 10 blams nice and squared up, and you can see everything that goes into hand lettering and how amazing it is. It really is an art form.
Yeah, definitely cool. And Chris was hooking me up with some nice stuff there. It's like, the good old days. Lettered on the boards. Don't do that anymore.
Farron Delgado's stuff is amazing, and I don't know how you kind of found him or you guys got in touch. What's the story behind that? It's funny, you got a letterer from Spain, you got your colorists, your flyers from Greece. It's like, how do you get in touch with these guys? Reach out to you, or how does that? How did you?
You know what? I don't remember. I don't remember for the life of me how. I think it may have been through Facebook, and it may have been that he was just, hey, I know you guys did that Fantastic Four World's Greatest Comic Magazine thing. Mm-hmm. It's a team I didn't letter it. This is this stuff I'm doing. I'm doing kind of an Artie Simek thing. I'm like, whoa, holy crap, you are.
It is fun to look at. It really is amazing.
I mean, Artie Simek was my favorite letterer. He was my guy. And his career was sort of wrapping up when I started reading comics, and it was like, oh no, don't stop. You're my guy. Don't go away forever. And then he went away forever, and I was like, oh, this is tragic. But, then I ran into this guy who's really capable of doing just anything at all, which is the cool thing. It's like, oh, he can do that, but he can also do Bill Watterson if I need him to do Bill Watterson.
Yeah.
And and he's really conscientious about stuff in the backup to I was just in this issue. He was like, oh, I'm doing this pop in this one panel, and it looks just like this pal from Uncanny X-Men 108. I'm like, holy hell, it sure does. I really wanted to do it, it's just like, wow, he's thinking about different effects and different things. And, whenever he does cover copy from stuff, he'll have pulled out some comic. So it'll be like, here's the Fantastic Four cover that Artie Simek had lettered. I was kind of looking at when I did this, and I was like, oh, geez, nailed it. That's amazing.
Did you bring back kind of like those title pages because of
just because totally capable of doing.
They're fun. I gotta admit, it's such that's the best thing though. It's like one of the strengths of Savage Dragon 2 is like it. Something like that kind of excites your fans too. Like at least for me, like maybe I'm super nerdy about it, but it's like, oh, what's the title page gonna look like this month? Like what kind of font is he gonna use? It's real fun.
Like, I can do all this stuff that I hadn't thought about that we could do, and suddenly it's like, oh, this is on the table. If I'm going to have a guy who's capable of doing arty Simek, why would I not have him do titles? Why wouldn't I have him do logos on covers?
Yeah,
before he did this one, he did the cover copy of on the Donald Trump issue.
Right, yeah.
And it was like, oh man, I gotta have this guy do this stuff because he's so good at it. But it was always his problem. He's not as lightning fast as Chris.
Okay.
Chris was just like amazingly fast. Like you could drop a job in his lap, and it would be 4 hours, and the issue would be done.
Wow.
So. Wow. I would do my situation would always be I would finish up the issue, I would script the issue, and then I would finish scripting it like really late at night, and I would go to bed, and then the next morning half the book would be lettered and sitting there waiting for me, and he would grind through the other half. And when he was hand lettering this stuff some years ago, he was also super fast. And so it was like, I was used to super fast guy being able to come there and work some kind of major miracle. And then suddenly it's like, all right, you don't have that anymore. You're going to have to come up with a different working method. How are you going to do that? Mm-hmm. And this issue in particular, was it this one? I don't remember if it's 239 or not. One of these, geez, maybe it isn't. No, it's 238. 238. I literally wrote it a page at a time as I was working on it. Because I had a really hard deadline because my wife had bought tickets for us to go on a cruise. So I was like, oh, we're going on a cruise and we're leaving at this date, and we need to send this issue out before you go on that cruise. And so I was like, oh, this is blind panic. I need to get this done. And there's no way that I can drop it all in his lap at the last minute. I've got to get him most of this thing. And so I was just going page script, all the way down the line. And it's a really different kind of experience working that way than it is working any other way. Because when you're working page at a time, then you're sitting there going, "Did I say that already?" Because it's been a day since I was writing this script. Did I cover that? Is this going to end up being really redundant because I'm doing it this way? I think it was 238. I don't remember. Could have been 237. I don't know that any of them read any different because they're doing stuff. But
is there any kind of? Sorry, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
It all ends up fine, when it's all said and done. I'll do a final read through when it's all over and just go, all right, well, that seemed to work. I've almost never do I rewrite anything. Occasionally there'll be a case where I just rattle on so goddamn much that it can't possibly fit in the panel that's there that it's supposed to fit in. So it's at that point, it's like, all right, you better do something.
Are you writing in like what you want the sound effect to be, or is that kind of like the surprise of it? Are you telling Farron, like, I want a Brackabadoom here or a Thram here?
Yeah,
telling him.
I give him placement on everything. So he's getting a page that's got it's black and white of the artwork with red balloons drawn in there with like numbers on them, 1, 2, 3.
That was my question. If the letterer chooses that, or if you do.
No, it's on. In my case, it's me. I know in a lot of Marvel, DC, whatever books, that the editor or sometimes even the letterer will be that guy. Sometimes they'll just, because a lot of books are written full script, and so they'll just send the full script to the letterer along with the artwork, and then he's just in there going, well, it says panel 1, and this is the dialogue coming from it. I guess I'm putting this here, and finding a place for it. Whereas I think that's vitally important as to where those spaces are and what goes in there.
Right.
So I'm super on that all the time, and it's like, all right, this has to go here, and I've left this much space, and I also being friends with Chris, super conscientious about being a good guy when it comes to working with letterers.
Yeah.
And part of that is not having them have to deal with rewrites, because what happens with a lot of letterers at Marvel DC is they will treat the initial lettering as, oh, this is the first draft. I'm going to read.
Oh, it's a pain in the ass.
Oh, I'm going to rewrite a lot of this dialogue, and they'll go through and they'll rewrite a whole bunch of it, and then we'll see that and they'll think, oh no, there's something still not working about it, and some of those books will go through like 5 drafts.
Ooh.
And the letterer is paid for lettering it once.
Wow.
Oh, it's not great.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah, no, it's fucking horrible.
So
when I'm sitting there doing my stuff, it's like, look, there's 1 draft, and I'm giving you placement, and the only time there's, I mean, when I change a word, I'm apologetic. Oh, I'm really sorry I had to change this word. And a lot of the corrections I'll do myself on my end, because it's like, I don't want to slow you down. If I misspelled a word, I'll fix it over here.
Right, yeah. There's got to be a better way that they could just do some kind of draft, like crappy lettering until they finalize everything.
Yeah, but
well, that's what Erik does.
No, they should do their job. They should know what the characters are saying, and and when they're sitting there, they get the artwork in. They should look and compare the two and go, oh, this isn't working now. Well, let's rewrite it before we send it to the letterer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I was gonna say, I don't read a lot of comics that aren't made by their own creator or whatever, so I don't run into it a ton.
Oh, look at this guy.
Really refined taste here, but I'm just saying, you really feel the separation between the letterer and the artist whenever you run into weird shit like that, where you can kind of tell there's a huge, big, open, empty sky and one word balloon or something.
Yeah, well, it's weird to see bad placement in comics. It's like, what's going on here? How come there's bad placement?
Why is that balloon over that person's face?
Which is not unheard of. There'll be stuff where this is important stuff that you're covering up, and there's no reason for it at all.
Yeah.
It's
very apparent to the reader, I feel like. And I feel like a lot of times amateur people doing comics, as a reader, you look and you're like, how could you miss that? Or how, because it is so obvious, even though, I guess to some of these amateurs or some people have a blind eye to it. But if you read comics, when you see these things, it just looks jarring.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that to me looks super jarring that to other people that's fine. Well, whatever. I'm not even worried about that. Oh, okay. That's cool. Just stuff like lettering stuff where they'll be we're going to tuck this behind something that's in the background, and we're going to put it in front of something that's in the foreground. So you're like, so you're just completely destroying the 3-dimensionality and the sense of depth by doing it this way. That's cool. But then there's art stuff that does that too, where guys will just have a random hand of some guy in the background that they just thought needed to be there, and they'll just have his hand sticking out of the panel border when everything else is cropped. And it's like, so this hand is in front of everything else? That's weird. That doesn't work so well. What are you doing? All right, I'm not in charge. That much is obvious. We settled anything today. We've settled that.
I do have a request for future Dragon comics. Can we get some more G-Man web comics in there? They are fucking hilarious.
They are funny.
I really enjoy them, and when we see a new one, it's like, yes, he's got a talent.
There's other stuff that a lot of times it'll end up that there will be some other backup that's taking up too much space, so we'll see. Like I know there's a couple of Big Bang Night Watchman things that are going to be in the next couple issues.
Cool.
And it's those are cool. Let's get Night Watchman in there. And it's got a little bit of old Mighty Man and stuff like that. That's neat.
Sweet. Is it reprints from
it is.
There's colored, right? That's the whole
it's
thing.
Stuff that hasn't never been colored before. So it's
cool.
This will be neat. That it's, and I don't really even remember it that well. It's like, okay, it's a lot of people who didn't see this that will be seeing it for the first time. Let's do that.
Yeah, the backups in the past few issues have been really spot on. I enjoyed the Fosco monster one.
That's neat.
The Super Patriot one was kind of a cool little short story. I know that took a while from I think when we talked to you or you posted on Facebook or something that was kind of a long time coming.
Well, that one had written it specifically for another artist.
Yeah,
who promptly just screwed the pooch on it and just was not able to get it done. And it's like, well, this is for you. These are characters you wanted to draw. And it's not like somebody else is going, ooh, can we do a story with Daredevil and Super Patriot?
Yeah.
Me.
All right. So, thankfully, I was able to pull in another dude who was willing and able to do it and did a good job. So it's like, all right, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
He delivered.
He delivered. I wish it would have come out and been the backup in the Donald Trump issue when we had done that. That would have been.
Yeah, that would have been actually really cool.
It's like, huh.
Wow.
Time to do that.
Erik, how are you on time?
I'm fine because we rearranged our whole lives for this.
Nice.
Because we do have a couple of...
I told my wife that it's like, we're going to do this, and it could run a little late. So she's like, all right, well, we'll just have dinner really early. And it's like, let's do that.
Cool.
We do have a bunch of listener questions we should probably go through.
Of ranging quality.
I do want to make one more comment, though. The backups, the Kill Cat backup, amazing. Scott James does your characters justice. We love seeing his stuff. We had him on, was it 1 or 2 FINcast ago? Was it 1? I don't know. But anyway, always good to see his stuff. Yeah. And that was a fun little story.
Yeah, that's fun. It's always nice to... I love those guys. It's nice to have them in stuff. It's like, I want to do more with them. I want to do more. I haven't really done much Freak Force characters. I'd like to do a little more of those.
Is it a question of like their time or your time to write these extra stories, or just space?
It's both. There's a lot of times where I just can't get my act together.
Yeah.
Or even, nothing. I can't think of what to do. It's like, I don't really have a story for that. Sometimes sometimes they make requests. I mean, it's a non-paying gig. It's not like
right.
It's not like these guys are getting huge money. It's like the book doesn't really generate a huge amount of dough.
Right.
It's just kind of
you get comps, right?
And it's like, it's exposure. It's like, well, that's no good for anybody, really. But it's people who want to be part of the book, and it's like, well, that's awesome that you want to do that. Great, let's do that. So usually they're guys who just wanted to be part of the book, and so it's well, what character do you want to do? Because if this is the way it's doing, you're not getting paid anything for it, and it's just for shits and giggles. I want to completely do something that you want to do. And it's actually worse when they go, I don't know. Like, if you narrow this down to something really weird, I'm going to come up with a story where it's going to be this, all right, he wants to draw powerhouse, but ugly, and the hardest. Come up with something. Or whatever. You just go, okay, I can accommodate that. I can come up with something. But if they're just sitting there going, I don't know, that just becomes a little more difficult.
Right. It's probably getting a little tougher too these days because the old cast is kind of back in Chicago. So now it's like,
well, they're all here now.
Pick these guys.
Well, I can do whatever. And I can place things in any time period too.
That's true.
Whatever. Every dimension counts now. So let's have a story that takes place in Wacko Dimension number 14. And
I want to do a Mace backup.
Yeah. Do you want to? Somebody was like, "Oh, I really love Mace. Can you do a story back when Mace was alive?" It's like,
is that true? Did someone really say that?
I'll do it.
Yeah. I really want to see the origin of Buttress.
Well, any of those characters, seriously, because it's like, a lot of people will be like, well, I want to do the story with Dragon.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he's not alive. So if you want to do a story with Dragon, I'll just write a story that takes place back when he was alive, and here he is doing shit, and people can read another Dragon story, and how cool is that? More Dragon. And that happens all the time. It's like, okay, I don't give a shit. I'll write that character all day long. I used to do it all the time.
So, Jim, do you want to get
do you want to go down the list
questions?
Here? Yeah. As Raven mentioned, we've heard some of these before, but I think we'll just kind of go through them.
You can just off the cuff them. No need to sweat too much when you hear a question we all know that you know the answer to.
All right, so Matt Hickman, he writes, what crossovers with other characters would you like to do or may have coming up?
Or maybe.
Kind of. I like to do crossovers with all kinds of Marvel DC shit that I never did. That would just be like, let's have Dragon meet. The obvious ones being Spider-Man, Hulk,
Fantastic Four,
Captain Marvel,
Fantastic Four. Do one with Thor, so you can have Thor meet Thor. Do Fawcett's Captain Marvel. Do more Superman's always more good.
He's public domain. You can just use him.
Yeah. Who cares? It's all good. Those kind of characters. I like all the classic stuff, but mostly I like them in their classic thing. If DC was like, okay, you can do Captain Marvel, but you have to call him Shazam, and he's
a dumb hood.
He's got a shitty costume. It's like, yeah, no. How about you go fuck yourself? Not interested at all. It's like, it would be a struggle in some of them in any case. It's like, you can do a Batman, but he's got to be wearing his new shitty costume. Like,
draw all those lines.
That's not a cool costume. That's a bad costume. Can't just, and can't he just be wearing his clothes with the little underpants over it and just nobody mentions it? Do you really have to have every character going, oh, his shorts are back. Look, his shorts are back.
Well, I'm sure Dragon would mention it.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Have you ever been approached by anyone at Marvel for the obvious kind of Spider-Man Dragon crossover ever? Or
no, that's never happened.
It seems like you got the Superman, so you got the DC, you got like Ninja Turtles, so that was like the biggest indie property. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the regular comic stuff, it's like who's left that's cool?
Yeah,
it's not
Dragon Aliens.
Well, I don't want to draw that.
No.
I mean, and those aren't like, those are weird because they're movie properties. And it just feel like those kind of guys should even be meeting in a way. Like, you guys belong in a really weird, different kind of reality than this guy. So what are they going to be running around in Toronto? It's like, oh, aliens are in Toronto. They have to buy milk in a bag, and they're super pissed off about it.
Oh, boy.
What the hell's going on here? Crossover is crazy.
All right, so Darth Flint asks, are the backup stories canon to the main story? Like the one in issue 225, which is his favorite. I'm not even sure what the backup of 225 was.
There was a bunch of stories. In 225, I reprinted the graphic fantasy story.
Right. So I guess he's asking, were those canon?
It's that canon.
I guess
it's all canon if you consider the merging of multiple worlds.
Right. They're alternate realities. So
some of them can be alternate realities. I mean, there's the one backup in 225 where Dragon's got a super big, heavy upper body and tiny little legs, and he keeps killing people with every punch.
That was awesome.
That was a fun little story, but it's like, was that proper canon? It's like, no, not proper, but we'll say there's some goofy little reality somewhere where that happened, and we're all fine with that, aren't we?
I accept it.
The silly Flash Mercury backups, which are cool.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, that's fine.
And then that guy, Raven, right? Didn't he draw one of those?
Yeah.
Goofy ass strips there?
That counted and was even acknowledged in some way by kind of establishing, at least it was mentioned that Kevin was into Angel or something. Wasn't that acknowledged in some small way?
By the way, what the heck have you been doing to Thunderhead? When he first came out in Raven strip, he's all like ripped. Remember when he first came out, he was like the biggest badass, and now he's lost a ton of muscle, and he's like Mr. Rogers babysitting the kids with his sweaters. He totally pussified him.
I love
he used to be the biggest badass.
He's domesticated big time.
Yeah.
Just Raven emasculated him. What can I say?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it would be a different take to just go, what if he didn't?
No, it's great, especially with that skull face. It's like everything on him screams Mr. Rogers, and then he's got this horrifying face.
He's just hooks up with a woman who's kind of a little more controlling than he's used to, and he's just kind of like, well, yeah, okay.
Works for me.
Let's just try this out. I mean, sometimes relationships go in weird ways like that, where you're just like, all right, well, whatever. You can win this round. We're good with that.
Like, come on, Kevin. You're dressed like my grandpa.
I think we've all had that friend who just completely wimps out, when he gets in a relationship. That's kind of what I thought was going on.
It's not how I take it. It takes a confident man to wear a sweater vest.
Yeah.
That guy has a skull face. That guy had the skull face and tree trunk arms, and now he's a complete pussy. God damn it.
Oh. What can I say?
Yeah. You win some, you lose some.
He's Mark Silvestri, you know. Mark used to work out. He was pretty. He's getting older.
He's done with all that. He got married. Doesn't need the muscles.
Putting on the sweater vest.
So next question. Justin Wassoon asks, when will we see the progeny of Powerhouse? You know,
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing about comparing Thunderhead to Mark Silvestri.
That is, yeah. We can't just gloss over that. That's hilarious.
Mark's awesome. Mark used to be like a super workout guy though, and then he just at some point he was like, "Yeah, can't continue to do this forever," which is totally fine. He's still like this monster of a man, and he's still like. He could still kill any one of us with his bare hand.
And draw a sick Wolverine.
Oh, the guy is a mean motherfucker when it comes to drawing stuff. It's this guy. He is capable of anything. Yeah, he's like the guy with all the Image guys when it comes down to who's the best artist in Image Comics. We'd all just go, yeah, Mark. There's just no question here.
Yeah, right.
This is the guy. Really knows how to do this stuff. It's like, okay.
There'll always be someone better out there.
Yeah, well, he's pretty good.
So what's the next question, Jim? Sorry.
They were asking when we're going to see some kids from Powerhouse and Fever.
Well, Powerhouse is like a regular dude with just the magic power to turn into like a chicken, right?
Yeah, I mean, he puts on the mask. If he takes the mask off, he becomes like a regular guy. So, I mean, assuming he's got some kind of... I'm assuming he's just got a chicken head. He's like the god of Raw, right? Because the Raw just had a bird head, but he didn't have like a bird body. He doesn't have feathers. I mean, that was a weird question for a while. What's Powerhouse like when he takes his shirt off? Is he just all yellow with like feathers and shit?
He looks like Foghorn Leghorn.
That's kind of weird. And then did make the decision. No, he's like a regular guy underneath that. So then that was like, okay, well, that answers that question.
Yeah.
I guess I could. I could do some kind of weird bird, snake-headed bird thing somehow.
Then he wouldn't have the sweet flat top.
The nice thing about having characters that aren't in the book for a while is you can kind of go there where you go, oh, haven't seen that character in 6 years. They're now walking around with a toddler. Okay.
Uncle Flash Mercury.
I guess
babysitting.
Flash was
sitting on a giant nest.
He's just sitting there. I mean, those guys left town because Dart was in charge. And it's like, well,
Dart's gone.
Since
she's still floating around.
Was the case. Now she's back.
Yeah.
It's not really
stole her baby back.
It's not really been defined where she's at and what's going on with her right now. So it could be that. She could be like, all right, I'm going to be back in charge again, and they could be like, you don't have any of your, you don't have the sword thing, so go fuck yourself.
I would like to see her again, especially since she got the new Dart as well.
Yeah, I mean that seems like something to do, and I haven't really done that yet. It's like, all right, can we have old Dart meet new Dart, and only one can survive.
It's come to this, evil twin.
Well, that's kind of crazy too. That you made the decision to have that kind of good guy Dart, Freak Force Dart, and there's still the Vicious Circle Dart out there, and so you got a character wearing the same exact costume.
Yeah, the same way.
There's got to be some confusion. Here's this murderous Dart, and then here's this one now we're going to pass off as a good guy, and the public's not going to question that. Well, I guess now they're enemy of the state too.
Well, one's also way older and can turn into a shark.
Well, also I mean, I realize it's comics and all, but in any kind of a real world situation, you would immediately go, oh, well, that one looks like this person. That one looks like Michelle Pfeiffer, and that one looks like some other person entirely.
Yeah.
So it's like they wouldn't be confused in any real world. In comics, they're like, oh, you guys look exactly the same. It's like, oh, shit, I can do a better job of making them have distinct faces. And I haven't really found a great face for the new Dart yet, so I'm still working on that. But the other Dart I was trying to give her a real different looking face from the previous Dart.
Yeah, she had more of a rounder face. Kind of.
So she had a different look. I'm probably, if anything, trying to push the new Dart to look a little more like how Nikos drew her when he did that Mighty Man story.
Yep.
She was that. So it's like, all right, well, at least there's a face kind of established.
Right.
I can push it a little more that way.
Cool. Let's skip over a few of these questions. Francesco Aquaviva, we've kind of answered that. On Andrew D'Entremont, we kind of answered that one. Christopher Matthew Jones asked a question that I know we kind of ask regularly, and with the new issue that cover you posted up, he said, are there still plans for a new Ant miniseries or regular series? If so, would it be written and drawn by you, Erik?
The plan is for me to get on it and for it to be written and drawn by me. That is the plan. And the plan is for it to be it would not be an adult book the way Dragon is. It would be not a younger reader's book, but a more of a teen book. So more like more akin to my Spider-Man stuff than necessarily what I've been doing in Dragon of late.
I feel like, was it like a year ago or something, you kind of posted a teaser on Facebook with like a coming 2018 or something like that. Does that mean there's anything done on it, or what's...
I had started drawing it and I didn't get very far. It's God's honest truth. I just didn't get far enough that I felt like I could really do anything. I don't want to start soliciting yet another comic that's not far enough done. And that's what I wanted to do, is to have that one be done when I start soliciting issues.
Okay, mini-series style.
Yeah, I might come to that. But I wanted to start with her origin, and her origin's been a little more of an ordeal to write and draw than I wanted it to be. So
gotcha. I saw she's on the cover of 242, the solicitation. Yeah, it's a great cover.
I actually drew that cover, or I started drawing that cover a long, long time ago. So much so that Malcolm was a cop on it, and I had to white out the shoulder patch.
Oh yeah, because he's got his like cop boots on. If you kind of
he's got cop shoes on. I was like, oops.
Wouldn't have even thought about it if you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is that kind of a way to kind of keep her kind of fresh for you?
It was really a situation where they needed a cover right away. And I was like, here's one that's halfway done. So I'll just, I guess I'm doing this. And then I'll, vamp on it like I do everything else. A lot of the times it just ends up, we need something today, so what can you give us? Unfortunately, I'm not very far ahead on that sort of stuff, and I need to be better at it, and I need to think about what I actually want to do on this stupid book ahead of time, but every single issue I'm
trying to catch up.
And every single issue I'm not really thinking too much ahead of, okay, well, what am I actually doing? What's the story?
I know I'm excited to kind of see what you're going to do with this Captain Tootsie, which is funny. then the ant, and then 240. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, none of them are Captain Tootsie one, it was just like, I think this is a story where I'm going to be able to not have the Captain Tootsie thing be all the issues. So I'm going to be able to go, okay, now I can finally do a lot of the regular guy stuff and showing him. Just the idea of him as a regular person existing fascinates to some degree, just because we haven't really seen it. Can we do a story where he makes a friend? Yeah, what's that like? How does he make a friend? How does he trust that friend is a good shit and not some crazy person who's wanting to get into his life for some ulterior weird reason? And
Right.
And I mean, really, how does anybody with any degree of fame figure that out? Do I only hang out with famous people now because famous people have also the same level of fame that I have? Is that how that's got to work in order to make a real friend? Because that's weird.
It would be great if the cover of 241 Captain Tootsie was just a commercial for his reality show.
We got to have a fight in this. We didn't have a fight this month, so we really need you to mix it up with Captain Tootsie.
You kind of did that actually, though, with the Schick razors? That was like a cover where Dragon, like someone was pouncing on Dragon, and you read the book, and it was like, oh, it was a commercial, and I thought that was hilarious. Schick razors, whatever they were, I don't know.
Yeah, we gotta do this. Yeah, and constantly. It's somebody had mentioned on Twitter or one of those places when I posted one of the covers and said, well, they said something, asked me some question about it, and I just said, I did this cover before I do the story, and they say, oh, old school. And it's like, yeah, I've done that every single issue. There's never been a time where I haven't done it that way. I've not done a single issue of any of these where I actually have the story that's sitting there done, and I just do a cover for it. It's like that never happens.
That's what's so fucking crazy.
It is crazy. It's no good way to do things either. It really does create all kinds of problems, but at the same time, it's worked out all right. So I can't really complain about it as a way of doing things. And it's also the way that in some cases that comics used to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
DC used to have editorial come up with crazy situations for covers, and then they would just give the covers to whoever's writing the book. Like, okay, we need to find a writer who'll come up with a story to go along with our Lois finds out who Superman really is cover.
Right.
And that was the gig, was constantly trying to come up with a cool cover and that people would respond to.
Why is Superman trying to kill Jimmy Olsen again?
Again.
Yeah, he's always doing that. Come on, Jimmy. Oh, you found out who I am, Jimmy? Now I'm going to have to kill you. Okay. That'll be my next one, right? Okay.
So you want to skip through a few more of these? I think he answered most of them.
Yeah, these all look...
How about the Lou Cipher one?
Oh, here
skip
it is.
down to that
Yeah.
one.
My first, Lou Cipher says, my first contact with Savage Dragon was through the animated TV series. What memories do you, Mr. Larson, have about that adaptation?
They're all fleeting.
I mean, you did character designs for it, right? But
yeah,
primarily you didn't.
There was stuff where they wouldn't have a character. They're like, we need somebody who fulfills this role, what can you give me? It really early on, there weren't a lot of female characters. So I think
Vane, right?
Vane and Volcanic, I think, were both created for the cartoon. And there was somebody who was in one of the Freak Force comics that was also created for the cartoon. And I don't even remember the name of the character at all. It was just
it was Deadbolt with a big head. Was that his Bulkhead? Wasn't that one of the guys?
Yes, yeah. That is correct. Bulkhead was created for the cartoon, and there's actually a couple others that were created for the cartoon that have never shown up. There's a character called Ma that never showed up. And
so you have the rights to those characters' likenesses, even though, like, I don't know, Columbia owns the cartoon or Sony owns.
It's Universal, and we're gonna say yes.
Okay.
They own the cartoon, but I own everything that went into the cartoon. So, whatever. I created the designs of all those characters. It wasn't somebody in their office creating designs. So.
How much?
And some of them they did change because they couldn't really animate Arachnid very well. They just like, he's hard to make move because he looks like a big ball, and having him shift around seems really weird. So we just went in a totally different direction. I'm like, don't care, that's fine. The script for those things started coming really, really fast and furious at some point, and it just became clear that there was no way I was going to be able to be up on them. You'd get the first script and you'd be like, all right, this is awesome, this will be cool, and then you read through it and you gave all the notes on the first one, and then send those back, and then the second one shows up. And then pretty soon it's like, I'm getting the third draft of episode 1 and 2 drafts of this episode, this and this. And it just became too much. And I was like, I'm not going to sit down and read 125 pages of scripts at this point to go through everything. So
it's crazy.
So a lot of stuff ended up in the cartoons that I'm like, that's not right, but oh well.
That's cool though that you had like say in like the
I had some weird say and not as much control as you like. Like they sent me audio tapes of all the people reading the parts, and they're going, and who do you think? And
not
I was
this guy.
Yeah, and I would be like, well, I like this guy's voice for a dragon, and they're like, well, we don't. Like, what? Oh yeah. Well, then why are you even sending me these voices then? And I don't really know. It's like I ended up writing the preamble to the show, which was a voiceover of Frank Darling talking about the thing. I wrote that
Chicago.
I wrote that because I didn't want Dragon saying anything. I picked the Frank.
You were ashamed of Dragon's voice.
I did pick the Dragon.
It's unfortunate. Voice. Jim Cummings is a legend, but he is the wrong choice for Dragon.
I thought he was a weird choice, and apparently he loved working on the show. And when he's asked whose favorite character to do the voice for, it's often been Savage Dragon. And it's like, that's.
Well, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't love it as much as you did, but I wanted a kind of a Bruce Willis voice, and you weren't doing a Bruce Willis voice.
They did get that right though with the show. I mean, they did make him like a wise ass character, which was kind of cool, and I could see why he would like that.
There's some of that. There's a little bit of this voice and that was like, all right, that's okay, that's all right. To me, Alex didn't sound like how Alex should sound. Rita Mina Maid was just like, she wasn't written as the same character at all. she was really sort of this ditzy and girl who's just all about dragon. It's like that's not even who that character is.
It's kind of the era that cartoon was made. There was a specific tone, like voice actors did back then. I think it was just kind of the way it was done. So it's just tough.
They got barbaric, right? I thought.
Well, it was weird. The cartoon initially it went through a couple different iterations. It was initially pitched to CBS, and initially Mark Evanier was going to write it, and then Mark Evanier stuck in some Mark Evanier characters into it, and so it was like, well, why is this guy even in the show at all? He's not in the comics. He's just a Mark Evanier guy, and it's like the guy that he put in. I don't know if you remember Steve Lombard at all, but Steve Lombard was kind of a foil of Clark Kent in the Superman comics in the 70s. And he was just sort of like this dick jock that was just and just kind of being, hey, blah, blah, blah. And so he was this guy who would always be trying to take credit for shit the Dragon was doing. And it's like, this is not something that should be in this at all. And ultimately,
so strange.
CBS was like, no, we're not going to go with this. And so when it kind of bounced back, it's like, well, let's not do that. And I don't even remember how it ended up shuffling from one bunch of people who were going to do it to another bunch of people who were going to do it. I just all that is lost on me now.
Yeah.
But it ended up being an entirely different group of people put it together, and it ended up being all right. There was some episodes are better than others, and some are just unwatchable. In fact,
one season is better than the other art-wise too.
Yeah.
Probably went cheap on season 2.
I feel like it's the other way around. Maybe I don't know.
The opening credits on season 2.
Oh, that's amazing!
Are really cool.
Yeah,
and it's like I wish the show looked like that because those opening credits are awesome.
Yeah, it looks like anime.
They always put the money in the opening credits.
Yeah. It was entirely done by somebody else entirely, like a different thing.
It looks like good anime. Like,
it's like it should look like good anime. That would be cool, and it just wasn't. So there's a bunch of little things. There's some really cool little fuck ups every now and then. You'll be watching the show and it's like, oh wait, did I just see something? There's a panel where there's a screen where like Dragon is talking to Frank, so they're both in the shot, and then Frank's hand comes up and kind of he's like thinking about something, and so his hand comes up to just kind of cup his own chin and like ponder something as people do. And somehow they thought that was Dragon's hand. So it's weird that suddenly this green hand is like.
Animation errors are one of the big reasons to watch those kind of shows.
Or guys' mouths will like disappear completely for a split second. It's like, wait a minute, did that guy's mouth just vanish? That's not right. There's a really weird screw up perspective shot where. There is a group of people that are sitting at a outdoor cafe, right? Mm-hmm. Behind them is a building, and Dragon and Alex come tearing around from off screen behind the building, and so they're behind the people who are sitting there at the restaurant. They come around the corner, and then they pass in front of the people who are sitting there. At this outdoor cafe.
Yeah.
But from the time that they pass behind them to the time that they pass in front of them, they don't really change size enough.
Their scale stays the same.
So when they pass in front of them, it's like Ken and Barbie riding around in a little car. It's like you can freeze the frame, and it's like that looks hilarious.
They're funny.
Crazy.
At some point, we kind of want to do like a riff track on the show.
I would love nothing more. It was something that I wanted to do, and would just be like, oh, let's just get me and Josh Eichhorn and a case of beer in a room and just tear the living shit out of this show.
Oh, that's gotta happen.
Because this would be fun. But it's also like 26 episodes. It's like,
yeah. Well, I pick a couple of the good
22
ones.
minutes. That still ends up being a lot of time and a lot of stuff to go through. And there's not that much stuff that you can really blast. And it's okay as a show. It's not like, oh my God, it's so terrible, we're gonna make fun of this constantly. It's like, it's all right. And it's one of those situations where they had a lot of good people work on the show, and you get a whole room full of decent cooks, and somehow or other, tossing ingredients at each other, it doesn't all can become a great meal. So you kind of feel like, well, I don't really want to just call out all these people who have gone on to doing cool things that are good guys.
I think it's more than just like, but there's a lot of silliness that's not related to like the actual work put in or the art or anything like that. There's just general cartoon silliness, like Dragon and Alex driving this police car without a rooftop. Like, what is that about? So because Finn could fit in, or just for the ease of, like, the
ease of a lot of things.
Gotta sell that Jeep toy.
It's just silly like cartoon things.
Finding out the movie magic of that RoboCop when he's sitting there in the car doesn't have the lower part of his costume on. Yeah, because he is too tall. It adds too much height to his ass. Right. So they're like, well, we can't have him sitting in here. So the actor's sitting in the car without any pants. and then we have the shot of when he's getting out. It's like, we've got the door already open. Now we're going to actor to be standing behind the door as though he just stepped out. Like, all right.
Yeah, it's just a lot of that general silliness of just the cartoon that I think you could poke a lot of fun at that wouldn't be going after people or anything like that. But the fat cop definitely makes that series too. He's such a goon.
Well, he was. That was a change because in the original comic, there was Bruce Robinson, and they're like, well, we can't have the black guy be fat and lazy because that's this stereotype, and we just can't do that. It's just not. And I thought, well, we've got also like a lot of other black characters that are in this show. Certainly, they can't all be go-getters. But they were really like adamant about that, and I was like, well, let's just make up a new dude then, because I don't want to have it be that you're just going to make this white guy into a black guy. People that collect the comic will shit about it,
Yeah,
that's
really weird.
But then he ended up being in the comic, which is cool.
Well, let's kill him off immediately.
So, did you get like original copies of like I guess it was VHS at the time or DVD or whatever?
Yeah,
for you to review
VHS. I have copies of stuff without any without music and sound effects. Some of it.
Oh wow.
And then later on when there was music and sound effects, they sent me those. Everything's deteriorated. I actually have a bootleg of it on DVD.
Yeah.
So if I want to sit down and watch what I can. But
so your kids didn't watch it when they were young, like on DVD or VHS?
They were too young.
No, I mean on DVD or whatever, like the bootleg.
I showed it to them, and they just had zero interest in it. So, all right, I'm not going to force you to watch this because.
Look at this cartoon I made. Watch it.
Daddy made a cartoon.
Your dad made a cartoon. Now watch this.
Well, all jokes aside, though, that had to be pretty thrilling to have your character.
Oh, it's cool.
A Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh, look, his head is moving. He's turning his head, and his fin kind of works as a turning thing. That's cool.
You know, you kind of,
dude, his mouth is opening. He's saying words.
You've kind of made it when they make your property into a cartoon for kids. You know, it's kind of cool.
When they think you can compete against Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, there was definitely cool stuff about it. It's cool that it got turned into toys. It was neat that they did little things here and there. It was kind of neat to do. Yeah, it was an interesting time because at the same time we pitched Savage Dragon to CBS. It was the same people who ended up doing Dragon were the people who, I think it was the same people who were pitching Freak Force. Because we pitched a Freak Force show to CBS. Oh, no kidding. And they ended up passing on it. And I think that might have been how it got shuffled over to these other people, because I think that was Universal was going to be involved in that, but they ended up passing on both of them. And Freak Force was not nearly as far along at that point, but that was like, we kind of ended up not putting in Super Patriot because we're like, well, we got to save him for doing something else, and then the something else never materialized. So it's like, we totally could have this Super Patriot in there. But I guess also we didn't want to be like, well, we don't want Universal to have rights to this when we could be doing it for somebody else down the road, blah, blah, blah. So
it must have been a crazy time.
It was. And the thing was that at the time, the comics were selling super well.
Right.
So it's like, I got some decent coin for doing the animated stuff, but it still was like 2 issues of the comic at that point. So it's like, all right, well, was this worth all this time you're putting into this? I mean, monetarily, maybe not, but whatever. It all adds up, and now I'm not. I don't rag on it. I'm not displeased with it particularly. It's fun.
Yeah, it's silly. It's a cartoon from the 90s.
It's an artifact of history.
Yeah, it's the thing, and I wish it was available commercially so people could watch it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I remember like years back there was kind of murmurs about it maybe coming back out.
But no, there is no. I would assume that if there was ever like, we want to make a live action something, that suddenly
maybe it would
go, wait a minute, we have that. We could totally release that now, and someone might care.
Right.
The funny thing is that just out of curiosity, I went searching to see, who's keeping up the rights, who's got those rights. You can totally still find those rights as retained by Universal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you search the little Universal Entertainment databases for what shows and things that they can license or whatever else, it still just comes right up Savage Dragon. So
Savage Dragon is there, and they could be putting those cartoons out.
Man, I didn't remember. Overlord's voiced by Tony Jay. Tony Jay's one of the greatest voice actors ever.
All right. Yeah, no, he was just doing his. I mean, it was weird because we're like, well, what kind of voice are we going to give him? Because, I mean, he's supposed to be like a Chicago thug that's in this costume.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he would kind
of. Why would he have this English accent?
Right.
It's the suit. It changes his voice.
Yeah. It's
a modulator.
You got to disguise that voice. You don't want everybody knowing, when I'm going to buy groceries in my regular clothes, people don't want to. I get out here sometime, have some fun.
What was the name of the company that made his Cyber Data? They're an English company, maybe. Anyway, so we've kind of taken up a lot of your time. Yeah. You want to ask there's one more question that kind of cracked me up that we had from a listener. Adam Woodard said, "Ask Erik why he, as a creative consultant, allowed DJ Kirkbride to call French fries potato fries and errand boys. What kind of monster says potato fries?
People in other. Yes. I don't know. I mean, they're nobody calls them.
They're
potatoes.
called chips.
They're called chips.
In England, maybe in Ireland or something.
We still roll with fish and chips, even though.
Yeah. Always confused me as a kid.
It's like, why are they fish and chips? Those aren't chips. They're not.
Because potato chips are crisps.
Crisps, yeah. Crisps. And a packet of crisps, please.
I hate crisps. I hate it.
Yeah.
No.
It's a tough one.
It is cool though to see Nikos with the Errand Boys and seeing his art on an image book. So it's
I mean I still need to get him some Freak Force stuff because we want to do Freak Force as a.
Oh, is that still on the table?
Just a one shot, yeah.
Yes.
It's just been me not able to get my act together, but he's been saying, "Look, I want to do this," and I'm not. Yeah, but it's like I don't have something I really want to do with them, and I don't want to just do product for the sake of product. I want it to be a story that's like a story that must be told, kind of thing. So.
Which is hilarious because we would just do whatever you put out. We'd be thrilled,
Right? Well, that's the thing.
Literally, will buy anything.
I think people generally are far less maybe discriminating as I am. But I'm kind of am in this mode of, well, if I'm doing this, there has to be a reason for it. There has to be a good story here. It's got to be something that I really want to say with this, that, or the other thing. And same thing when I'm doing those backups or any story. It's like I've only got this limited space. All my characters are getting older by the issue. Every time I don't have these guys even show up, they're still theoretically getting older and older.
Right.
It's like, when was the last time Dung showed up? What's he look like now? For
the corpse.
Well, how about all those kids that
the
went
thing
to
was
jail?
The real guy that Dung was based on.
Yeah.
Dung was based on a real human being who's a Bay Area disc jockey. He is dead. So it's like, oh, so what do I do? The real guy who this character is based on has passed away. Do I just no longer use him out of respect? Or do I, just kill him off out of respect? Or, what do I even do here? And I don't have an answer to that, but I haven't used him in a while.
Well, we always have his kids.
Yeah.
That's his little shit. and it's a bunch of it too is like there's a bunch of characters that are set in Chicago.
Yeah.
Do I just have them wander up to Toronto for no reason at all? I mean, that seems weird too. Right. How many characters would realistically decide on their own with no?
Well, there'd have to be a good incentive, like a new crime boss offering opportunity.
Yeah. Hey, have we got the job for you?
I'm going to go move where my arch nemesis moved to.
Plus, we've got healthcare up here.
Legalized weed.
Curling.
There you go.
And Boxing Day, we have a lot of fun with that. What? I don't even know what that is.
Trudeau's so dreamy.
Don't forget Tim Hortons.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. Pizza. You could be, come on. Don't knock it till you've tried it.
Boston pizza. Gross.
What?
Boston pizza, whatever they have there. I don't know.
Is that a thing in Canada?
Yeah, in Toronto they have Boston pizza, which is like, I don't remember Boston ever being the hub of pizza greatness, but...
Not at all. That is random as shit.
There's a lot of random as shit stuff up there. Including the Poop Cafe.
Oh, yeah. That is really weird.
It's like, okay. It's cool to just stumble on just weirdness that you can just be like, oh, I could totally use this. Like the Lucky Moose supermarket. It's like, what the hell? The Lucky Moose? What? I got to use the Lucky Moose in here. A lot of times that there's just little weird stuff of people wearing shirts or carrying bags or whatever. It's like, this was a thing, Malcolm is in this issue that is wearing this corner gas shirt. And it's like, that was a TV show up in Canada. It was a sitcom. And in Corner Gas, they would have comic books that were on there.
Oh, yeah.
They would always have like a spinner rack that had comics on it. And the guy who is the main dude on the show has been. Somebody asked him at one point, "What comics were you reading on there?" He says, "Well, 95% of the time I was reading Savage Dragon."
Nice.
It's like, well, that's cool, because they couldn't get DC and Marvel books because they had the whole Warner Brothers and the
whatever
other,
it was, yeah, Sony and Fox and everything.
So like, we can't give up any rights, including having a comic book in the background and a Canadian television show. And it's like, I don't know what rights you're giving up for that, but whatever. If you don't want them to appear, let's let Savage Dragon show out.
Yeah, it's funny because you gave like one issue, someone has a hat with Corner Gas kind of scribbled on it, and then the latest issue, Malcolm's got his shirt. What's the jackass thing on the back of the shirt?
Like, that would be like something that one of the characters routinely said.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of an equivalent to a catchphrase.
Little catchphrase, yeah.
So it's like, okay, why the hell not? And then, some of this stuff is like, oh, I got to keep this going. But I still kept the same gossip rag, like the American thing. I didn't go for the Canadian.
I like that you've established the, Canada's newscasters. They're consistent. Like, as I was going back through reading the issues, I was like, it's always the same man and woman news host.
Yeah, and those are real people.
What?
Oh, really?
Yeah, those are real news hosts, and the station is a real station. That's not like a made
that's hilarious.
For Canada station. It's like, well, this is a real thing. A lot of the times that I'm having and go into places, especially if it's like any store or anything, it's like, oh, that's a real store. When they go to the hospital, that's a real hospital.
Oh, that's crazy.
So
yeah, actually, I was in Toronto last year, and I took a picture outside the bar that Malcolm and Thunderhead go to. I can't remember the name of it now. The one with like the lizard or whatever on it.
What is that? What is he? Crocodile something. It's got a crocodile in it.
Yeah, the Crocodile Lounge or something like that. I was like, walking down the street, I was like, I recognize that place.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I could take, all the different landmarks. Because there's a bunch of little ones, and it's all pretty small stuff. Like in 231 when Maxine's wearing that shirt that says a BJ is better than a Yank.
That's Blue Jays.
That's a Blue Jays shirt.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good one.
A lot of it's just, seeing things online or whatever. It's like, oh, I gotta include this little thing because it just makes it seem a little more authentic and a little more foreign in a way. It's like, I want to seem that we're not. Because that's my cities always look like my cities wherever. So it's like, well, okay, at least I got to put a couple of really distinctive landmarks that show up from time to time.
I think Toronto has come across in the book as pretty unique feeling. Like, it really has felt kind of different.
Well, I'm trying.
Good job. You're nailing it.
And it doesn't. doesn't hurt that every now and then a random character will just unload a whole spiel from something where they're just like, let me tell you about this little island.
Yeah, we give you the complete history.
You should bring the kids and hang out here because it's cool. Like, all right.
Best part of that sequence was Malcolm's like, sure, and just jumps off.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever, crazy.
Okay.
People are out of your minds.
Damn Canadians.
Canadians are too nice.
Yeah, they're all. They're all super.
Careful what you say here. Your half your fan base might disappear. No.
I love it. I love, I've only been to Toronto once, and I was like, I liked it. So yeah. I would do more. I want to do more in Toronto. I'd like to visit more. I'd like to just kind of get more of a sense of where things are in relation to each other and just the cool stuff. But I end up doing a lot of research, just looking stuff up. It's like, okay, well, what's their local mall that they could, name drop a reference to? What's this and that? When Malcolm goes and signs whatever he's signing, and that, we got to make an appearance at this thing, and that's a real place, and we got to do this. All right. All the hospitals.
It's pretty crazy too with things like, you think about like what kind of references like in the 60s, like or even like earlier than that, the artists had to have their own scrapbooks with like magazine cutouts, and now you can go on like Google Maps on Street View and just be like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of that. It's like, all right, yeah, we can do this every time. No problem. I wish I don't keep Malcolm's apartment very consistent. I need to work on that. Like, sometimes it's the top floor, and sometimes it's not the top floor. And sometimes 6 stories tall.
You can rent out the top few floors like the Baxter Building.
Well, it's like sometimes you can stand on the roof and call down to below, and the other person can hear you perfectly well. Oh, well. And it's like I keep trying to remember, like, what is did this happen in, and what is? It's like, it's a pain in the ass. See, I don't remember every single little, like. I know there's an issue where one of the kids crawled out the window and went up to the roof. It's
right.
Like, what issue was that? I don't remember. I'm like, what?
No.
Seems like a burden. I had a comic artist buddy tell me, he was like, I'm making Google SketchUp maps of all the characters' apartments so I can keep things consistent. And I was like, ugh. What a pain in the ass.
It's like, forget it.
I don't think the readers pay that much attention either.
No, they really don't. They don't. I mean, I think Malcolm and Maxine could just be sometimes on the top floor and sometimes not. And people aren't going to care.
No.
Not much. I'm going to be drawing Christmas again here pretty soon.
Yeah. It's true.
And I didn't do a Christmas issue, so we're going to have Christmas in the 241, I guess. That's when Christmas appears. So at least it'll be mentioned that it exists, and some mention of, either show a tree or whatever. But it gets tough because it's like, am I going to do Christmas every goddamn year? I mean, and does it matter that there's Christmas every year? It's like the kids' birthdays are celebrated in September. Maxine's birthday is in October. Malcolm's birthday is in November. Christmas is in December. I can't have like 4 issues in a row where we're celebrating shit. That's just going to seem crazy. Like, it's birthdays all the time here. Like, we have 3 issues in a row where we're celebrating birthdays. I can't do that. That would just be crazy.
What's funny is I feel like people ask for shit like that anyway, though. Like, wherever years of Walking Dead issues, are we going to see Rick go to the bathroom? And it's like, you really don't want to see that.
Yeah, well, I always figure that there's tons of stuff that we're just not seeing all the time in every one of these stories. But it also kind of feels like a cop-out if suddenly people are referencing something that we didn't see, you know? It's like, well, if you knew that was going to be an important piece of dialogue later on, you know? It's like if Maxine does all this crazy shit and she says, oh, tell you what, you can have a free pass someday. And I was like, suddenly had Malcolm mentioning, you totally gave me a free pass earlier, that it would seem like, wait a minute, how come you didn't have her actually say that in panel that we heard? Ah, shit.
I mean, on the other hand, though, we don't think that every day some new villain is blown through Malcolm's wall in his apartment. So,
well, you know, also it's clearly I'm not covering 30 days worth of events
right
every month. It's like that's a lot of events to have suddenly be showing up every single month. Like, oh, look at all this stuff that's happening. Man, your life is packed. And it's like, well, what are all those other events? What are we missing? What is on the cutting room floor that we just don't get to see or hear or find out anything about? You know, is it just kids getting older? That's it. Kids learning how to talk. You know, what are the birthdays on that? You got to check all those things all the time. Oh, wait a minute, no, they're. You know, when do they start sending those kids to preschool? I'm like, oh, that's going to be fun.
Right.
That's true. You got to think about those things too, like, because that's things that happen, you know? Do you show that? Do you not show that?
Yeah, a lot of it is just weird little stuff. Like, do Malcolm and Maxine have a car?
Oh, yeah.
Nah, the Uber.
I mean, is it Uber all the time?
He just jumps from place to place.
And if suddenly they are driving a car, do we have to say, hey, remember when we bought that car? No, I mean, they come into Canada, they're in a car. So presumably that's a rental. Some years ago, Malcolm and Maxine went to like this fair and they were driving a car. And they put all the toys and stuff on the roof when they were leaving that. So it's like, okay, am I looking back through is that her car? Is that her parents' car? And if her parents have a car, does that mean her mom has a car now? Or
that's not fun.
a lot of. I mean, is there anything there? Is it something that needs to be mentioned? We haven't seen. Kevin and Kevin's apartment, and it's like, okay, well, what's that like? Where is that? How is that in relation to the other? You know, what? I don't know. There's a bunch of little stuff that you like. Does it matter? Does anybody care? And no. I mean, to some degree, no. But we, know, at this point, we know that Alex and Angel are sharing an apartment together. That was established, and that they were painting that. So it's like, I guess at some point we should see it. Maybe. Right. You know, how much back and forth do we do there? How much do we follow any of those characters' lives? I mean, do people are going to be like, oh, I really want to know what Alex is doing now? It's really important to me to know what this, 40, whatever, almost 50-year-old woman at this point, what's she up to?
It's funny because one of the questions was about Angel and Alex. Are Angel and Alex romantically involved? I was like, uh-oh, someone does care.
Someone does care. I would.
Based on what we've seen, I gotta imagine.
I mean, we saw that in desperate times, make for strange bedfellows. but does that mean that they're going to be sitting there going, yeah, let's just do this all the time now, or is it like if you're locked up in jail and suddenly you're like doing some dude, it's like you're not sitting there going, well, I guess I'm gay now. Because, it's like all those people in jail who are sitting there doing what they're doing, they're not sitting there going, well, we're all gay here. And they're not, when they get out of jail, they're not like, well, all right, I've moved on to dudes. They're going to be back on Snatch as soon as they can do it.
Episode title right here.
Back on Snatch. I guess what you're saying is what happens in Dimension X stays in Dimension X.
Well, I mean, to a degree, it's kind of gotta, right? I mean, maybe they'll get out and it'll come up as a topic of conversation, but
Back on Snatch.
I would think there's a certain amount of that. It's like, all right, what are we doing here? Well, every now and then Maxine goes crazy and I'm allowed in that door. So
love the polarizing nature. And of course, it's funny. Nobody, like the fans in the letter columns, like are always like, it's each one feels like they're on the outside. Like one's like, I feel like I'm the only one that hates Maxine. And then the other person's like, I feel like, Maxine's great and everyone hates her. And it's like, Maxine's so polarizing. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no, there are certain characters that are like that definitely have, like, there's people who like him and there's people who don't. Like every time, one time we were going through, I was talking with Eric Stevenson about, okay, well, where are sales and what happens with different issues and what makes the sales go up, what makes the sales go down. And it was like, well, anytime Powerhouse appears on the cover, sales go down. So retailers at least are going, okay, this is too far. This chicken guy is not okay. But I've never heard from a fan ever that saying, yeah, Powerhouse sucks. Every single fan was like, he is totally awesome. It's like, just put him on the cover. You're not going to be able to afford doing this book anymore.
Maxine is great too because she's not like, based on your previous work, you want to say almost like the stereotypical Larson female superhero, like the big buxom.
Yeah. I like that. I like.
Yeah,
it's
super different.
Yeah,
and she's like one of the lead characters, and it's really great. I think it's really cool. Like the weird thing not
is,
what you would expect.
With Dragon, I kind of felt like I never found the perfect mate for him. Like Jennifer was problematic because she was kind of boring, and then a lot of people didn't like Rapture because she was something of a shrew, and didn't really have like a great sense of humor other than just being shitty.
Yeah.
She would just say shitty things, and she was always like jealous and
right.
stuff like that. So people weren't all up in her, and kind of people thought they liked Alex, but they didn't really feel like that relationship seemed a little too pat in a way. And when they would get together, it kind of felt like when the characters on Cheers got together, you kind of were like, oh, this is the season that sucks.
Yeah. It was kind of like the tension between Dragon and Alex that made that relationship.
Yeah. And it's like, so, it's like moonlighting. You can't have these two together or you lose what magic there is there. And then with Malcolm, it's just like, he had another girlfriend before, and then this girlfriend was like, oh, this one totally works. She's a lot of fun to write. And away we go.
Yeah, they complement each other pretty well.
Yeah, they're both like, they're funny to listen to, and she's super lively and has a lot of weird opinions on stuff. And, it's just, it's more fun. Kind of wish I had found that with Dragon. It would have been nice.
But I feel like even like what I liked about Dragon, I liked Bachelor Dragon that went from, that was kind of the cool aspect of him too. He was kind of just like a ladies' man that wasn't going to be tied down for a while.
Yeah.
And that was really fun.
Yeah, and then when he did get tied down, readers were just like, "Oh, this sucks."
Yeah.
I fucking hate that. I mean, I don't like Married Dragon.
I always liked him more as a father than a husband.
Yeah, well, he was fine as a single guy too, who was kind of a raising angel.
Yeah,
that wasn't a huge long period, but it was like, okay, that was all right.
It was just fun to see. He brings some chick home and she got covered in like dung shit or something like that on accident, or whatever the case was. It was like he always had like some girl on his arm or something like that.
Yeah.
That was fun, and it wasn't even that many issues when you think about like the length of the comic now. But
oh yeah,
it seems like the classic Dragon.
Wow, he was a cop for 38 issues, and that was kind of it. And then when he got to be a cop again, he was a cop for what, 5 issues, and then he was kind of dead, and then he was replaced by another dude, and then it's like he didn't last long as a cop second go around at all.
Right.
That Back in Blue was the most hilarious fake out.
Yeah. Like, look.
Step 1, kill everyone.
I'm not interested in this already.
I remember the interview you said it just kind of feels right to see him back, and then he got killed almost right away.
Because you blow up the precinct in the end of the Back in Blue issue, and then the next issue he gets his brain eaten by virus, and then Overlord blows away the virus entity.
The virus one was a weird one because that I had to do 148, which is the one that had Daredevil in it.
Right.
I had to do that before 147. So 147, when I went to do it, was like, this kind of feels like a fill-in in a weird way because I can't really do anything with the character. And then I ended up doing that story where he's with virus, which was a weird one. And then I ended up getting all sorts of crazy shit out of that. So I'm like, all right.
That was definitely a crazy time for Dragon, the virus issues. Like, it was like, is he Dragon or is he not Dragon? Like, what's up with this guy?
Yeah, what? He's got an accent? What kind of weird accent is that? We can't hear this stuff. You realize this isn't an audiobook.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, Erik, it's been great having you on again. We had a lot to talk about because we waited so long to have you on again.
All right. Well, you don't need to make it 8 months if you don't want to.
No, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, I think the summer was kind of busy. You were pumping out issues, and you had that cruise, and then New York Comic Con. It just kind of things got in the way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that actually was the only convention that I've done this year.
Yeah.
That was it. I've done just the one.
You were thinking next year you're going to step it up, or you just kind of off it?
I don't think I could step it down.
I mean, if a convention reached out to you, would you?
Well, the thing is that I'm invited to conventions all the time.
See, that's what
So I'm invited all over the place and all over the world, and it's like I can't go to all of them, and a lot of them are in places that I was like, well, I haven't been there in 30 years. I guess I could go there, but then it's also like, that this blows a week out of your schedule.
Right.
So if you're going to go to this show, it better be worthwhile. Otherwise, dude, you've blown it because you can't afford to lose that many weeks. So like, maybe I can go to 4 shows a year, 6 at most, without just completely screwing up everything. But it's like, choose carefully because that's all you got.
Many.
And if you blow it on some little convention where it's like, hey, we're doing our first time show and we're not, and they don't get the word out. And, it's like, I've flown pretty far for shows that ended up being kind of dog shows. And it's like, oh, I've flown to another country, and the 30 people who have my comic there in this other country lined up, got them signed, and now I'm sitting here. And nobody.
That's a bummer. Yeah.
Like, wow, that was. I mean, yeah, it's cool to walk around this crazy town and drink their crazy beer or whatever, but that's a long ass flight.
Right. Gotta be worth your while.
Yeah, and so it's tough sometimes to make those kind of choices.
Well,
and,
if you come back to Philly, I will sit at the table and watch your artwork for you.
Craig the Enforcer.
Well, I mean, a lot of times it just has to be like, okay, well, who's offering? I don't routinely contact people and say, can I go to your show?
Right.
So I just kind of choose from whoever's offering and try to figure something out. I don't know. I mean, sometimes sometimes it's not.
The Baltimore show is always awesome, and I know you used to go there once in a while. Those are always fun. Hopefully we can catch you there.
When there's shows that are focused more on comics, those are generally
right. I hate the Wizard World ones. Those are garbage.
Yeah, those not so good often. But then again, it's like I haven't been to Chicago in forever. But if C2E2 isn't like, well, we're going to fly you there, I don't have many options to go, hang out with Frank.
Right.
So it's like, all right, I could see myself getting coerced into doing a Wizard show just so I could hang out with Frank.
Right.
A lot of times that's what it is. Like this show I can hang out with this guy. This show I can hang out with that guy. That's a fun weekend. Whereas, hey, you're going to be flown to this cool place. Awesome. Can I take my wife? No, we will not pay for it. All right, then maybe not.
Right.
And it's kind of been neat that I've been able to bring her along because I mean, she never goes to the conventions at all, but she'll just be able to go and scout out everything cool and then come back and go, okay, here's what we got going on. You got to see this, and this.
That's cool. Yeah. Yep.
Man, sounds good.
So, yeah, probably next year I'll go to a few more shows.
Sweet.
And it's like, I haven't done a show in California in years at this point. Well, it's like, I live here.
Yeah, I know. It's probably, what are they, just more like movie related out on that coast?
That, San Diego is I hate it. So I never want to do San Diego again if I can help it. And then
you used to go to Emerald City up in.
I would go to Emerald City sometimes, but it's got to be a situation where they're going.
It's still far.
Because a lot of times, the bigger shows especially just go, we don't need you. We've got so many people that are showing up.
Right.
We're going to fly in 30 people, and you're not going to be one of them because we've got, bigger draws that we can fly in. And then you get smaller shows that are like,
they don't have the money to do it.
Can't afford the Spider-Man guy.
Well, the smaller shows will be like, we'll fly you in and we'll put you up, but you're going to be in nowhere. You're going to go there, and they will. And some of the promoters are like, well, we'll just leave you alone so you can do. It's like, what am I going to do in a hotel near no restaurants in the middle of nowhere? That's not a fun night for me. I mean,
it's just Motel 6.
Yeah, it's like, all right, this is cool. There's always those nightmare hotels that you end up in when you go to some of those places. Like, whoa, you got roaches the size of canned hams here. This is awesome.
Well, my local con is in a convention center attached to a casino, so there's tons to do.
Uh-oh. Catch an STD, lose some money.
Yeah, it's got everything. Yeah, it's like see a show. Want to go see a show?
No.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good. I think I'll go back to my room.
Yeah. They've got HBO.
They got color TV.
Yeah.
HBO and color TV.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time. It's always a blast to have you.
Yeah, sorry it was later than it ought to be, but I was having technical stuff.
It's all
Not a
good.
problem.
Yeah,
Yep.
Never a
all
problem.
worked out.
All right.
Take care.
Talk to you later, guys.
See ya.
All right, bye.
Adios.
Well, okay, that was quite the talk. Almost a 3-hour interview. I hope folks at home enjoyed it as much as we did.
At one point, I'm pretty sure that I heard eating from someone, and then later I heard a toilet flush.
Get out of here.
I didn't hear any toilet.
It's quite a long interview.
I heard a couple of motorcycles from San Francisco.
Like,
I heard him
yeah.
scratching away at his table. I think he was inking or something.
Oh, I'm sure he was working hard,
Savage
hardly
Dragon.
working.
But yeah, he answered a shit ton of questions. We can't let it. We can't go 8 issues without an Erik interview next time. We
Very
gotta
clearly six minimum, maximum.
It's just way too much to go through when you miss when you got to go through 8 issues.
That was good, though. Thank you, Erik. Thank you, listeners, for your questions. Like, I teased about quality. I'm joking. They were fucking awesome. Thank you so much for everyone who submitted a question via the Savage Dragon Facebook groups.
Yeah, and if we didn't ask your specific questions, probably because we already touched on
Spider-Man.
it. We already had touched on it, so anything that we had touched on, we kind of skipped over, so we wouldn't have to repeat himself.
Yeah, there were a few that accidentally came up just naturally anyway. Right. So, yeah, that's it. But thank you, everyone, anyway.
So, shall we take a peek at what's coming up?
Do you mean in Savage Dragon 240, The Deadly Demonoids, Part 2 of 2, The Battle for Toronto, Malcolm Dragon, Freak Force, The Dynamic Daredevil, and Battle Girl face off against the hideous hordes of the Deadly Demonoids? Digital $3.99, print $3.99, and worth every penny, baby. So good. Subscribe to the print edition. It's good. I'm excited.
Yeah. Next issue should be real good.
They're rapist cannibal demons. Can I just say that? The demon?
They do cover a lot of bases.
That's pretty evil, as evil goes.
Yeah, not good to no redemption arcs here.
Rapist cannibal demons are a pretty good enemy. I think we can all agree that those are bad characters.
Bad hombres with
bad hombres.
It's very nice, very good. I'm excited as shit. Can't wait for 240. Wish it was already November 14th. Just get here.
So, thanks for listening to the Savage FINcast. We'll be back again, of course, next month with a new issue.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, all our listener friends.
I just decided to leave the call. I had enough.
You're done?